Pull his head in. If you can see us. This one. Most meetings. They cut off at the end again. No, that was possible. We didn't know with the YouTube went. There's too much of me. There we go. Good evening, everyone. Are we good to go get started, Austin?
Yes, we're ready to go. We're recording right now.
Okay, great. Welcome to City Council, everybody. I hope you received my last minute text about not being there tonight. Didn't want to create any protocol issues with having been sick the way I have. So I'm going to start the meeting, and I'll just go as long as I can right now until, if I do have to turn it over, I'll do that with Lon when I'm not able to participate any longer. Let's start with a roll call vote, starting with Jason Thielen.
Jason Thielen, present.
Greg Gordon, present.
Lon Lot, present.
Jessica Smeon, present.
Carla Merrill, present.
Hi, Carla. Okay, thank you. We're going to start with an opening prayer by Jason Thielen.
Our Father in heaven, we're indeed grateful to be here, to be able to participate in city government, to be able to try to make a difference. We're thankful for our city staff and how they keep our city running well and our parks clean. And we're thankful for our police and fire department that keeps us safe. Please bless them with strength and mental clarity. Bless them that they'll be safe in their endeavors. We're thankful to be here. Please bless this night that we will be able to have a good discussion and listen as well and make good decisions. And we say these things in the name of Jesus Christ. Amen.
Amen. Amen. Thank you, Jason. Jessica, I don't know if you got my message. Would it be okay if you led us in the pledge?
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. Okay, I believe we have a work session ready to go on the master plan. Well, let's, I'll go ahead and have Shane and Austin roll that out.
Austin will be leading this discussion, so.
All right. Okay, so earlier today, I sent out the latest final, the latest draft of the general plan to the council. So there's been a couple of key changes since the last time you guys saw it, based on the feedback from our last meeting. So we updated the last section, the economic development section that we looked at, restructured some of the language there, specifically with regards to the item numbers. So we combined item 2 and item 4, and I'll just pull that up here so we can see that. So item 2 and item 4 were combined into a new item 1.1. So as you'll see here on the screen, this is the new language that's been drafted, kind of combining those two policies into one policy. And the idea was to put this at the front of the document as kind of our main guiding policy for this section. Also, let's see, we modified some of the language in 1.2. So it used to say it had different language there, basically implying that we were trying to get a big box type store to come to Alpine, and that's not exactly our goal. So we kind of retuned that language. It now says stable retail business. So that change was made. And then as we got looking at this and we were getting the final draft ready, we had some comments from City Council regarding the street improvement portion of the general plan. So this was a page that was in there. It kind of had some numbers breaking down cost estimates for different street projects throughout the city. So what you're seeing here on the screen, we've crossed out some of these showing that some of these are no longer on the table. This was drafted several years ago. And so some of these have been completed or just don't make sense. But the more that we got thinking about this part of the general plan, we got thinking, this is some pretty granular detail, and it's probably it's more detailed than you would typically see in a general plan. And so staff's recommendation is actually to just remove this page from the general plan. Horrocks engineers are actually working on a updated, is it a street, what?
Street master plan.
The street master plan, so
Transportation master plan.
the transportation. So they're working on that, and we'll have an updated one soon, and with updated numbers and everything. And so it just seems like this kind of information should be inside that street transportation master plan and not in the general plan. And so we would just recommend that we just scrap this page specifically from our drafted plan. Other changes so that you'll see here is we've added in all of the city master plans, so the most recent and up-to-date master plans. So this will, let me just go here to the table of contents so you can kind of see what those plans are. So we've labeled them as exhibits within the general plan. We have the land use map, street master plan, Moyle Park master plan, Dry Creek corridor master plan, the trail master plan, and the Lambert Park master plan. So all of those master plans have been included. You'll see those in the draft, the latest draft that I've sent to you all. So this should be a pretty close approximation of kind of where we are. All the language has been updated. This is as close to a final draft as we have up to this point. So it's here for your review and any additional comments. The plan is at the October 26th meeting, we would hold a public hearing for this and present whatever our draft is that we have by that time, whether it's this or if we make any further modifications, we'll present whatever that final draft is for a public hearing on the 26th so that we can get public feedback and public comment and hopefully adopt this before the end of the year. That's kind of all I have, unless we have any comments from the council or the mayor regarding the general plan.
I have one. Is Troy the one who gives us permission to talk, or is it? No, I don't.
You should. If Troy, are you still there?
He's muted, but
Oh, you're muted.
Yeah, go ahead, Jason, sorry.
All right, so I'm just gonna go through a couple of these real quick for the council, just to say if this is what we want. First one, and again, I went through the whole thing prior to your one that you sent out this morning, so some of these may be changed, but on page 3, on the land use, the question on 3.1, it says preserve animal rights and maintain lenient level of regulations. Do we want to have it say and maintain lenient level of regulations? It's trying to imply something there that's quantitative, and I think it's simply enough to say preserve animal rights.
Would make it cleaner and tighter, definitely.
I mean, I'd agree. I think lenient can be interpreted so many ways, right? I think we're quite lenient, but that's subjective.
would something like, instead of maintaining leniency, how about maintaining the historical value of agriculture and livestock in our city? Because that doesn't force us into anything, right? I mean, it forces us to continue to allow it, but it doesn't control the level at which it's allowed.
I feel like just saying preserve animal rights would be sufficient. Craig, I mean, it's a complete sentence. And it conveys the meaning that we want. Do we need to add all the superfluous words?
Yeah, so regulation is, a limitation essentially on rights. So do we need to state that, or can we just say maintain animal rights?
Yeah, I guess my thought on having it as having the historical value linked to it is it does kind of keep goals consistent with, maintaining a certain feel of Alpine, but I'm okay leaving it out. It's just a suggestion.
Again, so, I mean, I would think that on this, it would be as simple as us going one by one and saying we approve, make a motion on the land use goal 1 for these changes. And then we would agree on it or disagree, vote, and then we'd come up with something at this point. But I'm just going, I don't know the best way, because I don't think we're doing that right now. But if I was just to go through really quickly some of the things that's the very first thing. I think we need to take out the word lenient because it's unknown. On the next page, 1.7, it says promote and preserve access to trails, mountains, and open space. I don't know if what promotes applying there. Is it promote creation of trails or is it promoting access? I don't know how that works into that statement. So either it's promoting what?
Yeah, I think the discussion we had on that was when a development comes in, we talk to the developer and promote this concept so that we have access
So is
to.
it promote new trail creation and preserve access?
I wonder if develop would be, or some other term there might be more clear.
But when it says promote, what are we promoting is what I'm trying to.
I think I hear what Jason's saying. I see how you could read it multiple ways. If you change and put promote and preserve access to mountains, that's gonna be the same thing.
Yeah, I like
Open
Greg's.
space, access to mountains and access and trails or something like that.
Or what if you change that word promote to develop, like Greg was saying?
I
Develop
could just say
and preserve.
promote
Yeah, that's it.
development that preserves access to trails and mountains and open space.
Like that.
That's close, yeah.
So I like that. Develop as opposed to just promote.
Development.
On next page, goal 2,
Mhm.
2.3, on TR 10,000, it says 10,000 square foot minimum lot size shall include, and this is comma, but not exclusive to, the area generally located within the regional settled town center. I think we could remove very easily there, but is not exclusive to, because they're saying the exact same thing. A 10,000 square foot minimum lot shall include the area generally implies that it's generally in that area. But when it says it's not exclusive to, it kind of goes against 2.8 that we're trying to create this center of lower density on the outer sides with higher density inner sides. So already in the 2.8 saying what we kind of want it to do. But this one, by just throwing in the word but is not exclusive to, I don't think it's needed because it says generally located.
That's probably a legacy. As the city's developed, there's no way, right, that TR 10,000 is not in city center now, I think.
We have some on the outer sides as we're having some things up that you typically could come in and try to change the zoning to do senior living, for example, and whatnot. I think it's healthy if this is kind of our goal to just remove the words but is not exclusive to, and everything else works. Allowing for it to be generally located, but not exclusively in the next.
Craig, what is the legal feeling on that one?
I agree with Jason. I don't think we need the exclusivity component of that. if you're maintaining the desire and structure of the 10,000 square foot area, that we don't need to say, you know, exclusive of this or not exclusive of this, or that sort of thing. I think it's somewhat repetitious. So
That's another one to put down there, Austin.
he's got it.
Okay, on the next
He's a
one,
cross out. He's doing good.
on goal 2.7, follow the Alpine City annexation policy plan. Obviously, this is leading us in a direction in our general plan of how we want to run our city. I think we just need to make sure before we approve this, that we understand exactly what the Alpine City annexation policy plan is exactly. So I would not be for voting for this one yet until we review that annexation policy plan. Because this is specifically saying whatever's, I don't know, I actually don't think that should be there, but if it is there, then we need to know that our general plan is being directed by a specific policy plan that's different from this. That's one thing I'd say on that one.
Jason, do you mind if I add one comment while we're in goal 2? 2.2 on mixed use, that we don't currently have that in the general plan. I don't think we need to add it. We don't have it anywhere. And even as we're looking at some new ones, you know, between business, commercial and TR10 and CR20 and so on, I think we're well covered. I think it just adds some ambiguity that we don't need.
Yeah, and I thought we had discussed that before.
We haven't.
And so, Austin, are we, what we're seeing here tonight on the paper version that we got from Friday is different than the one you sent today. Is the only thing different today, the one you sent today, the economic, and you had updated the others, or are the others updated?
The others should have been updated, so the only difference between
was the
the
economic.
emailed one and the
Okay,
paper one.
so
would be-
these that
yeah.
we see in our paper tonight were updated,
Correct.
but I do remember us talking about that mixed use and thinking that it probably didn't need to be in there. Shane had a comment on that when we said that as well, and can't remember what your thoughts were on mixed use. Can you remember that discussion? Yeah, it's been a little bit.
I usually remember stuff like that, but
But we ought to, because I have that note here too.
I
Is
think that there was the discussion around one of the commercial buildings that had an apartment or
Oh.
something. So it was in relationship
Yeah.
to that and making sure that we, and thank you, include, because we do have a current
Mhm.
commercial building.
And we
that
have
would
current
fall in mixed
residential
use.
We do.
Right.
homes
Yeah.
in
Right.
We do, we have residential homes in the business commercial zone, but we also allow apartments within a
Mhm.
business commercial building. So,
So I think we didn't want to remove that because it did need to be addressed. Or if we do, we need to
yeah,
look at a different designation or how to.
do we feel like that fits under the business commercial? Do we feel like 2.1 is sufficient? Just to cover our business commercial needs, and within that business commercial zone, that's where we allow certain things like residential, but we don't necessarily have to call it out here. I don't
I
know.
think it's like two different things, because when you're talking about an apartment within a commercial type building, that's not a high density residential type. So when you're talking about mixed use, at least what's outlined in 2.2 is having commercial buildings combined with high density. And I think we agreed that we didn't want
We
that.
don't want any high density, right? So.
we
is
had the senior
consensus-
housing overlay,
Yeah, so
Yeah.
that allows for that.
but that is part of,
I wouldn't call our senior housing projects mixed use though,
No,
that we've done so far in the
it's
city.
exclusively residential,
Mhm.
so.
It's just an overlay within the business commercial, but not mixed use.
So I tend to agree, though. I didn't know what that meant really either, so. All right, so next one is on page, the transportation traffic circulation, 1.6. It starts out limit intermunicipal and unincorporated county street connections to the existing planned connections only. So basically, we're laying down a pretty firm line that we have laid out our connections to outside the city, and this is what we're gonna follow. But then it follows up after that to say, ensure that street connections to other municipalities or other areas of city boundaries are compatible with the goals and policies of the general plan. Only thing I can assume there is we're talking about those few that we have agreed in the city that we're gonna connect to, that we follow the general plan there. Is that what that's saying? Because then the third line says any additional street connections would require city council approval appropriate. So basically what we were saying that we're only going to allow these existing ones, but the last sentence there, we're saying, but when we do allow it, here's the process.
If you look at the map on page 12, this was the updated transportation master plan that looks like it was adopted September 8th of 2020. They're termed planned intermunicipal connections. Maybe that terminology needs to be incorporated into the text of the general plan. Bullet points.
Which bullet point are we on again? 1.6.
It is there. Maybe it says,
Yeah.
maybe it should say limit intermunicipal and unincorporated county street connections to those identified on Alpine City Transportation Master Plan Exhibit, whatever.
Would it be better to say approved connections? Because the master plan does have a sense of approval, the street master plan.
Again, I thought that the goal here, and the policies behind the goal would be that we would establish, these are our exits, and the policies are simply to give us direction over the next 7 to 10 years, or whatever long we keep it, that this is what we're gonna do as a city. And I thought the discussion was that we were not going to, outside of the master plan, we have 3, 4 roads that leave the city, we're not going to do additionals. I thought that's kind of what that whole policy number was about, but in listening to Shane, it's a little different than what I thought. Shane's talking about intermunicipal connections, which may or may not be what I was referring to.
And it, okay, it does mention that, I mean, item 1.6 starts out that way, but it doesn't really refer to the map.
Right.
If that's what our intent is, we probably should make that connection.
Yeah, I feel like the language is too loose for what the intent or what we want to convey is, this is what we want, this is what we plan for. I think mainly to be able to, Craig, be able to cover ourselves legally if we had another blue bison come up.
I was just gonna mention the
So-
existing issue.
Exactly. So if you can maybe work with Austin and come
Okay.
up with language to convey what the purpose or what we really want to happen, and so that we have legal ground to stand.
The purpose is really to comply with the 2020 adopted street master plan, as I understand.
I think the rest.
Yeah, as indicated in the map.
Yeah,
Because it gives us everything that exists plus the 2 additional connections that are in the future.
and
But
that's, excuse me, Mayor.
But no, that's okay. I was just gonna say that helps, to Carla's point, if I'm a developer and I want to come in and I want to punch another road in, I can take a look at this and say, well, here's the master plan right here. I've got to comply.
That's the map dated September 8th, 2020, I believe.
Correct.
Yes, correct.
So yeah, if we could rewrite that to what Carla was saying, that would be, for me at least, that would accomplish the policy that we were trying to obtain when we set it up. Next one.
You good on
Page
that?
16. My only thing on there is it talks about our moderate income housing mix. Actually, I think we're missing, are accessory apartments different then apartments, because we have apartments in the BC zone that are in commercial, but we also have accessory apartments. Do those need to be listed here as well?
They are different.
So
Yeah.
maybe
Yeah, those are,
let's add accessory apartments to that, just
You talking about ADUs?
In the policy on page 17.
page
Right,
16,
ADUs.
existing moderate income housing topic at the top.
That's inside the house.
It breaks out our housing mix, but does not include accessory.
yeah,
Okay.
that's what he's asking.
I'm not talking an accessory building.
That's the very
No.
first thing.
Yeah, not an outbuilding, no.
Isn't 1.1 allow
Pool house.
accessory apartments on page 16?
Mhm. So it's just not included on the top of page
Okay.
16. Okay, I'm just gonna move on. On page 17, this is a question for the group, actually. The goal here is to promote moderate income housing that meets the needs of those desiring to live in Alpine. I guess the only thing is, can we? That's my only thing. It says that we need to do things that are going to meet the needs of those who live in Alpine, but it can't be based on how much build out we have, an attainable thing for anyone to come in and buy a twin home because they're too expensive and it's out of moderate. Are we saying the wrong thing there is my only question.
Is this language mandated by the state? Is this their template?
The items
this
that come
our-
from the state are items 1.2,
Okay.
1.1.
So this is our
1.3,
goal then? Okay,
But the goal
Go as ours.
is ours.
okay.
Oh, so you're saying, should we even have that as a goal?
It's an unattainable goal. So does it need to be worked? I mean, our goal is to, there's things we can do, but I just think,
What if the goal was to provide or promote moderate income housing that meets the requirements of state law?
Required by the state, yeah, that's
Mhm.
really what we're doing.
That, because it changes potentially every year. And to not have to go back and redo your general plan or amend something,
yeah.
you know what I mean?
So something more broad like that, I think would
Yeah.
be great. And that's all I had.
Okay. Austin, any more questions on what Jason brought up?
So does that change that Shane proposed at the end of the goal, just to, if we change that language at the end, does that work with what you're, kind of what you had in mind?
Jessica, did you have anything?
Jason touched on it, just the 2.7 where it talked about the annexation policy. I needed clarity on that. And then going back to the mixed use, where did we land on that? Did we just want to remove the word density, but leave residential? How? I didn't hear a
The
conclusion.
way I understood this consensus that I seem to get from the council was that we just removed 2.2. Is that kind of what everybody was thinking? I don't know. If not, let me know.
Well, so again, it says land zoned as MU. We don't have a zone MU.
Right.
So we'd have to
No.
create a zone MU.
Yeah,
Right.
yeah, that
And
implies we
describe it.
create a new zone.
So it doesn't work anyway
Until
Okay.
you create that zone.
until we create that
Just take
zone.
it out.
Yeah,
Just-
remove it.
Okay, we could always add it in if we create a mixed
Yeah.
use zone, so
Okay.
let's just take it out for now.
Anything else, Jessica?
Those were it. And then just removing that table. I agree. It seemed really granular to be part of the master plan.
No. Okay, Carla, do you have anything?
No, I just wanted to make sure, and I thought we already covered it, but in our.
We need
city-
to mic up, Carla.
Sorry. So in our city ordinance, we also mention about connector roads, correct? Okay,
Mhm. Yeah.
not just in the master plan, but it's also in our.
Yeah.
ordinance. Okay,
yeah,
I
we-
just want to
we
make
made
sure that they
change,
are mutual.
Was it last year? I think it was last year that we made
Yeah,
that change
last
to the
year.
ordinance.
Is that it, Carla?
That's it.
Okay, Greg?
just a couple simple things on page 9, the spelling of Alpine there, it says Alpine on that map. That always jumps out at me. And then the, just above that on page, let's see, goal 3, page 7. I think the urban wildland interface is now called the wildland urban interface. We have that there and in the map. Again, on page 9, probably just an update. I didn't have anything else right now.
Okay, thank you, Greg. Lon, did you have anything?
I'd just like to see all these changes one more time as we move forward with this. Hopefully we could maybe resolve this prior to our public hearing as far as getting the changes and we can see it. So that we can have any input just prior to the public hearing.
Yeah, we need to.
Yeah.
I think also, all of these maps that are included in here as exhibits are maps that were created not specifically for this, but on their own. So they don't show Exhibit A. I think we need to go through and label those also to match up with the table of contents.
Okay. I have one question, and I meant to ask Craig this question earlier this week. Item 2.1, the last part of that, commercial uses serving the community and situated within an environment which is safe and aesthetically pleasing. Does that do anything to protect us, or can we do anything to protect ourselves against undesirable businesses? And I know that's up to interpretation.
What's undesirable, Mayor?
Something that would be I guess a poor moral character, and that's obviously a judgmental call, but there are certain things that I think nobody would be happy to see come here that you might find on State Street in Salt Lake. And not that this would be a great market, so that's probably a self-controlling measure in itself. But I just wondered if that does anything to allow us to say, you know, this isn't the kind of business we want here in Alpine.
Okay, Austin's going to help us out with this, Mayor, but let me address that issue. In some of the cities that I've represented in the past, I'll name them, Murray, Midvale, especially that's along the State Street corridor within the Salt Lake Valley, had, for lack of a better word, adult boutique shops. And those shops were the impetus for serious enforcement and rewriting of the local codes and the sexually oriented business codes. I have to admit that I have not read that code in the city of Alpine. I assume we have one, but I have not read it. And we probably ought to take a look at that to make sure it's up to date based on the most recent federal cases, because that's where the litigation goes. But Mayor, undesirable is in the eye of the beholder, right, most of the time. And so I can give you very little guidance on what is undesirable, except on fringes. And we could probably talk about that later, but it's the fringes that we're worried about, not the middle, even though they may be undesirable to some. For example, the city of Holiday, Department of Alcohol Beverage Control, wanted to move their liquor store that had been in the location off of Holiday Boulevard for about 35 years. Because of the redevelopment of the Holiday Village Center, they wanted to move it down on Murray Holiday Road. You would not believe the firestorm that caused, even though it was moving from adjacent to a residential area to a very commercial area. It befuddled the mayor, the city manager, and me of the opposition that we got. Just moving it because it was next to homes, across the street from homes, and had been there 35 years, and people were, I guess, used to it. But what is undesirable, I have a hard time defending or defining, to be honest with you, except on the fringes.
Yeah, I mean, and some people might say tobacco sales would be another undesirable, or other items that would be considered it to be well, I don't want to say too much, but there are businesses that nobody wants to see come in. And so I guess I just wanted to explore any language that could help protect us from that, or I don't know if they're protected already by state statute.
Let us fiddle with that concept, Mayor, and let's see what we can do. I'm not sure there's much we can do.
Okay.
I don't know how many of you were involved with
Within the distance.
planning commission or city council when the sexually oriented business ordinance came into play. But it raised eyebrows putting that in the ordinance, but the whole reason it went in there is if you don't have an ordinance saying they can only go here, then they can go anywhere. And so it really is tight on where they could go if they came here.
If I remember correctly, it's in the business commercial zone is where we spell it out.
And it has to be so many feet away from different.
Right.
It's on your screen right now, that ordinance.
Oh, yeah.
And Bonnie was just mentioning to me, the state statute talks about the location of certain businesses within the proximity of playgrounds, parks, schools, churches, and that sort of thing. So we already have some guidance based on the state statute. And in our community with the commercial zone as limited it is, that really restricts with the location of school, park right next to us and that sort of thing.
Okay. Thank you. Any more comments, or does Austin, you feel like you've got enough to work on?
I think those have been some great comments, so I'll work on most of those, and then there's that one item we'll touch base with Craig and get some good language on 1.6 of the transportation element, and I'll try and get you and all and a draft within the next week or two.
Mayor, I do have one last thing on this current project and future projections on page 15, that table. Wouldn't we want to be fairly current? We go clear back to 2017 on some of that. Do we want to?
This is data that was required by the state, and so we're just using that data that
They required that.
that they required us to use. And I guess the new census information will be coming, or is becoming available, so that may change the requirement.
Okay.
But as of
Can
right
we
now,
update as we move along then?
mhm.
Just update that? Meaning in a year, update this?
We could update those tables if
Okay.
need be. Honestly, I don't know if those numbers are going to change a whole lot from what I've heard
Okay,
coming down from the.
that's all. Thanks.
Okay, thank you, Lon. All right, if everybody feels like we're finished up with that topic, we'll move on to our consent calendar. Do we have a motion on the consent calendar or questions?
Make a motion that we approve the consent calendar with changes that I had given to Bonnie on several different pages of just scratching duplicate words and things like that. Some meaning, a few things that just didn't mean anything with the way it was worded.
I sent over a few minor edits as well that she captured.
Bonnie, are you comfortable with everything you have?
Yes, I've already made those changes.
Okay. Okay. I'm sorry, Lon, did you finish making a motion?
I made the motion.
Okay, so we have a motion by Lon Lot. Do we have a second to that motion?
I'll second.
Okay, it's seconded by Jason Thielen. Any
Greg
questions on the motion?
Greg Gordon.
Oh, I'm sorry. I thought that was Jason, Greg. My apologies. Second by Greg Gordon, to make the record clear. Any further question on the motion? All in favor?
I
Aye. Any opposed? That motion passes unanimously. So we'll move on to first item. Let's see. Sorry, I've got to run my device here. Public comment.
Oh, yeah.
Lon, I'll ask for your help. I'll announce public comment. If you could help recognize anyone in the audience that needs to come forward. We would welcome the public to make comments that are not associated with any of our agenda items on the calendar tonight. If we have time during those agenda items, we'd be happy to hear some public comment, again, if time permits. But the public comment is reserved for those items that are not listed. If you could please state your name and your address when approaching the mic and take a maximum of 3 minutes. Thank you very much. And please come forward if you have something to say.
Hi, Shabazz Janjua, 549 Alpine Drive. I'm going to try to keep it quickly in 3 minutes. It says sometime in January or February of 2019, Alpine View Estate subdivision was approved as a PRD with a public space to have a trail system for the recreational use of Alpine residents. Basically, since then, I have approached city officials literally on a monthly basis to fulfill what is required to complete the trail system, which is outlined on all of your codes, Alpine City codes. Unfortunately, nothing has happened. Now, with the lot number 11 being built, the construction, they have taken all the dirt and blocked the path of the trail, which is also in violation of Alpine City Code. All the homes that are being built around that supposed to have clear signs that they are not supposed to throw stuff in public space. I mean, I don't need to tell you guys this, but the city code clearly states that signs shall be placed at entry points to trails or to open space from public roads or other public lands. These signs shall identify the trail and also note usage restrictions. Alpine City is responsible for the landscaping and maintenance needs of all publicly owned open space and trails. And I know that there's a lot of people in our city officials that like the idea of the PRD, that like the idea of having the trail system on these PRDs. But if, as a city, we don't have any plans of enforcing these trails, then why are we approving these PRDs? I hear all of you officials one time or another say, we love the Alpine City because of its open space and because of small town feeling. Well, when we're doing PRDs, we are bringing more homes in. We are bringing more people in. We are bringing more cars in. And we're going away from what the intentions of the property used to be. I would encourage all of you to please walk this Alpine View Estates trail, because I do every day. And you will know that the property that was donated to the city in my opinion, would have never been able to use for anything else at all whatsoever. It has, I mean, I don't need to explain it. I would recommend that you guys go see that. But anyway, I'm just here to find out. I was here last month asking for the same thing. And I'm here again because my emails are not getting responded back to anymore. I'm still sending them every month and my time is up. Last thing was, is it okay if I volunteer to keep the trail path clean from weeds? I guess I'm supposed to say that to the public, to you guys.
So I would say to that, you're welcome to help people keep the trails clean. We all try to pitch in as long as
I'm
you
sorry,
don't.
who am I talking to?
The mayor.
I'm sorry, this is Mayor Stout.
Okay,
Sorry, I'm electronic today.
okay, sounds great.
But I would say that you're welcome to help maintain the trail as long as nothing is done to alter the trail in any way. But to clean it up is great. We don't want to widen it, make it more narrow, remove rocks or anything like that. We want it to maintain its current quality. But any help to maintain is appreciated. I mean, unless it's being done on a massive scale, on a very large scale, we'd love to work with you to accomplish those things. But if it's, day to day, getting rid of some weeds or, doing something that will help make the trail more passable for everyone else, I think that's terrific.
Awesome, thank you. I'm glad that Austin, I guess, brought the trail map up. So if you look from the Chatfield Circle where the trail goes into the other area, all of that trail entrance has been blocked by the dirt from that house that is being built next to it. And you can't go through at all whatsoever. And if you try to go through number 12, as in that area, you cannot tell whether you're trespassing into lot number 12 or not, because I think it's lot number 12, right? Yes, lot number 12. So there's no markers, no signs, nothing at all whatsoever. There are people that have taken their horses through there, the horses poop, and they never clean up after them. So I have cleaned horse poop off that trail multiple times.
Can I ask what you say, you're asking for something? What do you, this, I mean, I apologize.
No,
But
it's fine.
obviously there's dirt blocking the trail access there. There's a house being built. That'll all go away when the house is gone, obviously, but we don't want it there right now. But
Well,
what are you
unfortunately,
asking
according to the
for?
city code,
Yeah.
they are not supposed to put their dirt
Right,
there.
100%.
That's correct.
So what I'm asking for is to fulfill what the trail requires, which is the signage, which is the penalties so people can read what can be done. The houses that are being built, when they come in for a building permit, that they're supposed to be telling them, hey, listen, there's a public space, there's a trail. Here are the signs. You're supposed to block it. You're not supposed to throw anything there. Another house that got built, they have to literally make their backyard approximately 75 feet deeper with a grader into the public space. You're not supposed to do that.
Shane, to what degree have we taken code enforcement out to that area to investigate?
I didn't know about the 75 foot. I have responded in the past
Yes,
to Chabaz,
yes, you have.
but no matter what I said, it wasn't good enough. And so I have a lot of things going, and like I told him, we don't have a dedicated trail maintenance crew.
Mm-hmm.
And so some of these things take time. Getting signs in takes time. But
Shane-
none of that was good enough when I answered those questions. And so I haven't, the last few, I have not responded because.
Well, Shane, with all due respect, sir, would you please explain when did I ever, since 2019, ever said it was not good enough?
I could pull the emails up, but it's
Please,
not the place to do it.
please do.
Okay,
This is
all that
public comment,
respectfully-
it's typically 3 minutes and it's not a dialogue, so.
Yeah.
Absolutely. I
I'm gonna-
understand that. With all due respect, Shane, you have responded in the past very carefully and very good, and I really appreciate that. But when you say that nothing was good enough for me, I have always asked for same exact things that the city is supposed to do.
We've had signs stolen, there's different things that have happened, and without use, the trails, it looks like they haven't been maintained. The best thing for trails is for them to be used, and that's when they're more easily identifiable.
Absolutely.
As the area builds out and there's more homes and more residents, I expect that those trails will get more use.
Absolutely. But if you put the signs up there, they will get recognized. Nobody knows that there's trail there. Nobody.
Okay, so I'm going to interrupt.
Yes.
Sir, and I apologize, I don't remember your name, but I appreciate the comments.
Shabazz.
There will be some action. We'll take care of that, and you'll see some activity there. So if I could just ask you to return to your seat, please, and give your time to somebody else who has something.
Absolutely. Thank you for letting me take more time. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you. And Shane, as a side note, if we could just, and I'm happy to work with you on the side on that. I'm happy to participate in getting notifications of people that have blocked that trail, that it needs to be freed up immediately and restored. But I don't disagree with the gentleman. Getting the signage up there would obviously get people more aware that there is a trail there. It would have to be respected.
So we have a requirement as part of our SWIP plan that if a lot is adjacent to public open space, they're supposed to put a construction fence up. So I'll find out why that is not here.
Okay.
But that is in our standards and it is required. So we'll get to the bottom of that one.
Very good. Thank you.
Is it okay? Next person.
Yes, sir. Go ahead, please.
All right, great to see you all, neighbors. Great to see you, Troy. And thank you for all your work. My name is Andrew Young, longtime resident of Alpine, 37 years. Anyone else been here 37 years? 30? Okay. I know I'm not as old, but I've been here forever. Address. We have 2 homes in Alpine, 998 Stonehenge Road. That's the one we're talking about today. We came to give you some great solutions for the pickleball, but everyone is on Team Trail. So whatever you need to clean up trails, just let us know. We're all supportive of that. So just you probably get that done just by asking a couple of us. We'll be there. This isn't an issue that really affects me, affects all my neighbors, and they brought it up with me. So I thought about it, and it seems like an easy one. This seems like an easy one. We all win. Seems like you all win, we win, everyone with the pickleball courts. It doesn't affect me. I'm far enough away from it, but all my neighbors are. How many are here for the pickleball courts? Oh gosh, how many are here? Oh, actually, those are the ones against it. How many are here for it? Okay, we love you. Big solution is this. I won't take any more time. There's some great places to put it where everyone gets their pickleball courts, and none of the neighbors get what they don't want, which I believe is noise and traffic. And I've lived here so long, this park would be great right here with the rainbow, what are they called? The rainbow monkey bars. No one's used those in 37 years. This is a great spot, and it's a great spot for outsiders to come and not hinder all of these neighbors. Other place, imagine a pickleball tournament for Alpine Days. It can't happen up there. There's just not enough. Creekside, just south of the tennis courts. So anyways, that's it. It's a win-win if we can put it in one of those places, and hopefully that'll help all of our neighbors. And we really appreciate it. I think I voted for every single one of you up here. I'm not joking. I remember the name. I'm also a delegate. So we really support what you all are doing. So keep up the great work. Thank you.
Thank you, Andrew. Lana kind of went back on what I said a minute ago. You go ahead and take over the public comment.
Okay. Next,
Hi, can you hear me?
state your name and address.
I am Charlene Anderson, and I'm at 8.
Talk into the microphone.
Oh, so I have
There
to
you
go to
go.
one
There
side.
you go.
Oh, okay. I'm at 834 Healy Boulevard. And I love the comments so far. Thank you. Very good. So I'm here just to rekindle the concerns of the neighbors for having pickleball courts and soccer in our sweet little Healy Park that's only 4 acres. I have to tell you a little story that perhaps some of you have experienced too. When I first drove up the road, I wasn't driving, I was in the back seat of a car. We drove into Alpine, drove up Healy Boulevard. And by the time I got to the top of the hill, I just like almost jumped out the front window. I said, stop the car, I gotta get out. This is unbelievable. And the majesty and the beauty of the mountains there are just incredible. So you add the flora and the fauna to it, and we have something that most people don't have. You know, most towns don't have the atmosphere and the beauty that we have. So I'm all about preserving that as much as possible, and I think you all are too. I feel like it's gone now because the soccer people have come and used our park a lot, and now we'll have pickleball people coming as well. And with the traffic and the jockeying for position for parking and the noise of all the people hollering for their favorite team and stuff, the Healy Boulevard folks and the people around them, Stonehenge and beyond, we feel like it's being taken away from us. The quiet and the beauty, and the reason that a lot of us moved here is because of that. And I know we all have a need, you know, we want to address the soccer address the pickleball. And so I'm here to address the needs of the neighbors who bought the homes, and we pay taxes and we love it here and we like to keep the quiet. You know, when the games are over and the people go home, the impact of that chaos stays with the neighbors. And we used to be able to go out in our front yard and hold conversations and just enjoy each other and enjoy the openness of the park and the mountains. But we don't anymore. We don't. You can't even hear a conversation. My time's up. So
Thank you.
amen to that. Okay.
So Mayor, how long were we going to go on public comment? Did you have a time limit?
Yeah, we normally plan for no more than 20 minutes.
Okay,
I didn't mark when we started, but that allows plenty of 3-minute comments if we give a total of 20 minutes.
okay,
Well, 21 minutes, I guess would be the correct.
okay. Next,
Okay, I'm Tammy Seipert. I live at 807 Stonehenge Lane. 30 years in July. It was 30 years, July. I know Farmer Healy's here. He's here because he donated that land. And it was an amazing offer to give the land. We have a church on it. We have a beautiful church. When I was there, when we came, it was farmland. And he was so strong in his opinion of what he wanted. He was a peaceful man who liked quiet. He has that little old farmhouse that he used to go to. He was a man that was truly not excited about all the changes in building. And that, honestly, the park has become, my husband works at the church Tuesday nights. If there's soccer games, they want to use our bathroom in the church. And that's great, but we clean it. We have COVID. And he said he can't keep up with them. Even though you built bathrooms, we're thankful for that, but it's just so busy. The parking lot is full. On a Saturday, we have to pray nobody dies because we can't have a funeral. There's just no parking. The church is full. And honestly, the street, you painted it red, they don't care. It's now faded. They still park there. And we just painted today, I noticed 2 yellow lines, okay? That means stay in the yellow lines, don't go over it. There is no way when I'm coming home from Walmart on a Saturday, a Thursday night even now, during the weeknights now, that I don't go over the yellow line because I have to. I can't drive, the lane's not big enough for their cars and my cars. I love Alpine. My parents are buried here. You know, this is home. This is where I will probably die and be buried. But honestly, I do feel for, it's so hard. And the trash that's left is, you know, we pick it up. We pick it up. My husband walks the dog every night, 2 times a day. He loves the dog more than me. But he does that and he says, you should see the trash. And, you know, these people aren't even from Alpine. They're using our park that we love. We love Alpine. I think everyone here loves Alpine or you wouldn't be here, right? And I have 27 seconds, 26, 25, just to say, please consider moving the pickleball. And if it possible, I would do anything for you if you would move soccer, because honestly, it is too much. That's all I can say. And I have 11 seconds, 10 seconds, and thank you for all you do. I appreciate it. And I'm a little crazy because this really weighs on my mind all the time. I don't ever want to run over a kid. Okay, thank you.
Gotta act fast. Okay,
I
I'm Beth West. Oh, I'm
I
sorry.
apologize for the interruption. We've got 5 minutes left.
Okay, I'm gonna do 3, Brandon, I'll do 2. Okay, Beth West, 926 Healy Homestead Circle. And I have written to many of you about the Healy Park and pickleball courts there. I know that new information I got today, speaking to one of the neighbors, Cecilia Croft, she spoke with Carla Merrill today. And evidently there's a new plan that we didn't know about, a new plan for the pickleball courts that Carla shared with Cecilia, that you're gonna drop a new plan to have the 4 pickleball courts now oriented north-south along the parking lot of the church. And then the soccer field can move away from the street because it's been close to the street for the last few weeks where kids are going in the street a lot. And so also I've found out that there's an interest in spreading recreation around in Alpine and having diversity. And so my question is, or I'm wondering what your definition of diversity and definition of recreation, because there's lots of kinds of recreation. It's not all court sports and soccer. There are other kinds of recreation. And if we want diversity, then let's use a park that maybe doesn't have that kind of thing. Maybe has, and Healy Park is a small park. It's four acres. And also, I guess the biggest, and also the other question was about Creekside Park. Evidently, there's some sewer lines there that you don't want to put concrete over. Makes sense. But maybe there's some areas that don't have sewer lines, like maybe south of the tennis courts, you could put pickleball courts. Everyone that I talked to, their response is, yeah, Creekside makes more sense because there's more space, there's parking there. So anyway, some of those issues. The biggest thing is that we were not given a chance to give input. I mean, Lon was approached by a pickleball group. In the minutes, I read that. It's in the minutes. And I don't know who the group is. It one person, five? Is it a pickleball association? I don't know. Doesn't matter. But you brought it to the council and you acted on it. The council acted on pickleball courts. I like pickleball. I'm fine with pickleball. Also, you reached out to the soccer association to get their input, but you didn't reach out to the residents to get our input. We have a lot of data for you. We can give you a lot of information about what's going on in that little corner of Alpine around that park, because we see it every day. We live it every day. We're a powerful resource for you. And you know what? We might have some good ideas. We might have better ideas. They might be different than yours, but they might be some good ones. We're a good resource for you if you invite that input, but it didn't happen. And so that process may be a little flawed and can be improved. I'm really hoping that we can talk more about it. Thank you.
Good evening. How is the council today? Well, I'm hoping. My name is Brandon Allred. I live at 891 Healy Homestead Circle. I come to you as a member of the community where this pickleball is going to perhaps take effect and impact my lives. Many of you don't know who I am. Moved here from Heber because Heber used to be a small town. Loved it, enjoyed it. It grew so much to the point where it's no longer a small town. Unfortunately, I'm starting to see that happening with Alpine. I have an autistic son who cannot stand noises, large groups, without having panic attacks. These panic attacks have caused him to go in the emergency room. I'm not the only person who has an autistic child that lives in that neighborhood that's impacted by these large groups. Not only is my child impacted, but my family and our animals are impacted because we walk our family dogs. We try to enjoy family time together by being out in the environment, out in the parks. I've had to pick up personally left diapers, used condoms, condom wrappers, other things that have been left in that park by groups. And these have been after these events have taken place. We also have had reckless endangerment, where we've had people speeding down the road on Healy Boulevard, which my son has actually almost been hit on his bike because of the speeding cars. We also have the people who, it's been mentioned earlier today, that we've had the people park out on the roadway. It makes us impassable. So if we have someone that has an emergency and needs to be lifted or taken to a hospital on a Thursday or a Friday, Saturday, you can't get down Healy Boulevard to get somebody to a hospital without going the back route. And if you're looking at a matter of life and death in minutes and seconds, I hope none of you have to go through an ambulance through those crowds. I know I'm short on time. I ask to please consider where this is going. Not only is it impacting us, but it will impact the other generations that are living and trying to move into this community that want that small town community, who want to be able to come here and enjoy their family lives and bringing up their children. Thank you.
Thank you. We'll take Lon. We should wrap up. Was there somebody else moving forward?
Yeah, Mr. Whitey Hanson's moving forward.
And then we should wrap up. We're out
Okay.
of our,
My name's Whitey Anson. I live at 484 Westfield Road. And this is, my name's Mutt, and his is Jeff.
Chris Thackeray, I live at 215 Estate Drive, which is right next to the pickleball courts in Burgess Park.
So your prayers have been answered. There's another option that we would like to have the city consider. Would that be to expand the pickleball courts at Burgess Park? And that can be done very easily. And I've spoken with Carla and I've spoken with Lon. That can be done very easily by converting one tennis court to 4 pickleball courts. And by lining, now this is something I mentioned to Shane, we can add lines to the tennis court and have 2 more pickleball courts with portable nets when it's necessary, but yet you'll all also have the ability to use that tennis court for tennis when it's needed. This can be accommodated by a relatively small investment between $36,000 and $48,000. And the other option, the other thing that's interesting is the people that are against pickleball courts next to them, you have to understand pickleball is a very fast growing sport. And it's going to be, whether you like it or not, it's going to be here. The most important thing we feel is to bring the pickleball courts into one location where it's controlled, where the neighbors are in favor of the sport and not interfere with other people's lifestyle. So Chris, if you'll take over.
Yeah, so you might know that since building the courts there, that has completely changed my life, right? So one of the things that I've done since I've become an ambassador for the national organization, I've gotten a chance to speak to city councils in Provo, Lehigh, Orem, and in Highland. And it's all about giving feedback related to the growth of the sport. And one of the things that's very, very interesting is that it's a very social sport. And so a lot of parks and recs committees are looking at how to best facilitate the community. And one of the beautiful things about that sport is that putting groups of people together is actually encourages the socialization as compared to spreading it out. Great to have the options available in different areas of the city, right? Because it services areas of that specific area. But it turns out that there's actually this kind of opportunity to create socialization. You know that anybody that's gone out there knows that the teenagers are out there all night long, right? Until the lights turn off. The folks that like us are there in the morning time. Great opportunity. I want to thank the city council for the consideration that you've made. Great opportunity to expand that. One thing I'll also add is the rules need to change on the way that the pickleball is run. And I have some great ideas, suggestions based off of the other communities that do it. And I know that you've probably thought about that. I'm glad to help enforce or even to help encourage. So as part of that, so I'd be glad to serve.
So, you know, we have a committee of people that citizens throughout all parts of Alpine, including your neighbors who play pickleball. They're interested in helping you facilitate this, not just saying you fix it. We'll find a way to help you do it. So thank you much for your time.
thank you, guys. Appreciate your thoughts on that. Okay, we appreciate everybody who had an opportunity to give public comment today. We will move on with the remainder of our meeting. We do have a pretty packed agenda, but we appreciate you attending the meeting tonight and voicing your opinions. There'll be more to come on that discussion. We'll move to reports and presentations now, including the public comment. Financial report from Shane Sorensen.
I'll just make this really brief. The financial report's in your packet. We have over the last week completed our audit, and that report will be given in about a month. Just looking at our meeting schedule. So we'll just leave it at that unless you have questions.
Mayor, I did have one question. Have we met with the Alpine Days committee? And
we're trying to.
Okay.
Trying to coordinate when everybody can
Yeah.
there.
That's the
Okay.
meeting we had to schedule.
I'm gonna be gone for a little bit, so it's gonna be a little bit. So,
And Shane, I did get an email from our auditor with a list of questions that I'll be answering for him this week.
okay.
Okay, next up is the Mountain Point Medical Center. Amelia Thorne, are you in the audience?
He is coming, well, she is. I think we have the director coming. Nice to see you.
Thank you. Thank you. Thanks for letting us be here today. I don't know if we fit in the meeting today, but we just want to share a little bit about our hospital.
Move to one of
One or the other.
There we go.
Okay. Just want to share a little bit about the hospital today. I think there's a quick video I'd like to share and then just a couple minutes after that, if I could.
Can you tell me your name?
Kent Loosely. I live at 5510 West, 10600 North, Highland, Utah.
Is there sound playing in the chambers?
Well, I apologize if I sound a little bit like a commercial today. Just want to introduce you to Mountain Point. You know, Mountain Point has been here for about 6.5 years. We serve the communities in northern Utah County. You know us. Every time there's Alpine days, we're throwing out all these kitchen utensils. You probably have your drawers full of them. That's our goal, of course. Every time you open the drawer, you can see Mountain Point Medical Center. We a couple things I want to point out about Mountain Point because it's really beneficial to the communities here in northern Utah County. One of the things is that from heart services, we were able to build a cath lab at the hospital, and it's the only cath lab in northern Utah County. So we have interventional cardiologists and a cath lab, and so we're able to take care of heart services differently than everybody. We're able to do stents and take care of people in that setting. We also have invested in the community from a standpoint of technology. We purchased a Da Vinci robot for surgery, And so surgeries can be done, again, the only one here in northern Utah County. And so surgeries can be done, which are usually general surgeries and laparoscopic procedures from general surgeons, and GYN procedures, urology procedures, all can be done in a safer, it heals quicker by using a robot. And so we're able to be able to do that. One other thing, you saw the pictures on there. I don't know if you've been in the hospital before, but if one of your family members has a baby at the hospital, you know, you walk in the rooms and you go, holy cow, this is a nice place. And so it's a big room, and you're able to be able to stay in the room after you have your baby. And so people that rather than having your baby in a labor room and then being shipped to a kind of little small room to wait there for a couple of days, you're able to stay in and have a lot of family rooms. So the investment in the community from Mountain Point has been significant. Also want to mention, just as you probably all know, a lot of people end up having to go to one hospital or the other based upon what insurance they have. And so if you have an insurance that kind of makes you choose one hospital or the other, from an emergency room standpoint, that's not the case. Every person can go to any hospital regardless of the insurance. There's cross agreements for all the facilities. And so you don't have to say, I need to go to this hospital because I have this insurance. You get to go to anywhere you want. And so we would just invite you to get to know a community resource here for Alpine. It's Mountain Point Medical Center. The physicians at Mountain Point are virtually the same physicians at all the hospitals, the same medical staff at Mountain Point, the same medical staff in the other hospitals here in the area. They just go from both hospitals. So you're able to have the same doctor and a nicer hospital. So I'm happy to answer any questions if you'd like. Otherwise, thank you for letting me come.
I'll say that I've had the privilege of waiting outside of one of those rooms for my granddaughter to arrive, and I'll have the same opportunity in another 2 months. So I look forward to my trips to your hospital.
Congratulations.
Yeah, well, thanks, Kent. Kent is involved in many of the other communities. He's been in the Chamber of Commerce, in the different Chamber of Commerces, and Mountain Point is a good contributor to our communities.
Try to be a community hospital.
Thanks.
Thank you.
Okay, we'll move on to item C on our reports presentations, which is the Lambert Park Conservation Easement effort. I'll start that out, Shane, and if you want to follow up with any comments. As you know, we had an open house about 6 weeks ago. We've had a bunch of public input since that time. The survey continues to be a good source of feedback for us from the community. I will say regarding that, at this point, there seems to be overwhelming support for the permanent protection of the park. We have an open house scheduled for tomorrow at 5:30. We'll run from 5:30 to 8. This one is, I think I owe you an apology on this one because I don't think I did a very good job of getting the word out to you individually that we had one coming up. This will be an opportunity. Yes.
Sorry to interrupt you. It's actually 5:30 to 7.
Oh, 5:37, sorry.
Sorry to interrupt
you. Yeah. That's math skills on my part. I was thinking an hour and a half, but I ended up with 8 somehow. But it's my fault that word didn't get out to you individually. However, we did do a call out to all residents last week to give them a heads up. And then Shane, maybe you could tell us how else that the event for tomorrow night has been advertised. But before you jump into that, just to give you an idea of what will happen tomorrow, we will not have a Q&A session like we did in the last meeting. It'll be very much, well, it'll be like we intended the last meeting to be, which is an opportunity for people to wander around, read the reader boards, ask some of the experts who are from the Utah Public Lands Administration about conservation easements to get a little bit more education, and also to maybe see some of the survey results and to have an opportunity to provide more feedback. So there really won't be a time where the council or mayor addresses the public in this event. It'll be more of a mingle. Sorry, Shane, go ahead and jump in about how it's been, the word's gotten out.
Yeah, so we put notices out where we typically notice our city council meetings. It's also on the website. There was a public notice in the newspaper and its state website. And then the mayor mentioned the call that was put out to everyone. I think that went out, email, text, and phone. Yeah, so.
What about Facebook?
Information, they should have gotten it that way.
And Shane, what about Facebook and the city website?
It is on the city website for sure. The Facebook, if it's not, it'll be there probably during this meeting. Try my Facebook.
Okay. Yes, it was supposed to be on our Facebook page. Okay, so going beyond the open house tomorrow, that'll be yet another opportunity for public feedback via the survey. And they're welcome to ask whatever questions they deem appropriate. The next step will be in our next city council meeting. We'll have a work session with Utah Open Lands, and we'll walk through the parameters that we'd like to see included in the survey. I'm sorry, not in the survey, but in the conservation easement. There may be a draft ready for us by that point. That's my expectation, so that we have some kind of framework to work with, kind of like we have with the master plan. And then the survey results will be summarized, and the survey at that point will be shut down so that we can put that feedback to work. The next step after that would be a rough draft presented to council and the public, and an opportunity for a public hearing. And then in the following meeting, there may be an improved or a final draft of it, and possible move to vote depending on how the council feels. That's kind of a roadmap to what we can expect in the next coming weeks. Shane, did you have anything to add to that?
Oh, I think that covers it.
Shane, can I jump in? Mayor, there is little likelihood that we're going to have a draft on September 28th. We reached out on September 1st to Wendy and her group, Steve did and I did, asking for draft information and samples of what they've used, not only in the easement, but on the management plan. As far as I know, we never got a response back. So
yeah.
It's laudatory for the 28th, but let's not hope that we're going to have a great first draft, because I'm not sure about that.
Yeah, understood, Craig. I'm on the same page. I had a good conversation with Wendy today, and she should be reaching out to you tomorrow. I was very surprised that she hadn't responded. So I'm hoping that that communication can happen tomorrow and we can pick back up.
Thank you.
Thank you. Okay. Moving on from that, any questions from council on that? Okay, hearing none, we'll move forward with item D, the Grove Drive realignment project. Shane?
Yeah, so we discussed at a previous city council meeting about maybe some ideas of how to make the intersections of Box Elder Drive and Grove Drive more safe. I had a thought that night that I didn't just want to blurt out there without drawing some lines on paper to see if it would work. So we've done that now. And if you can pull that up, Austin. This concept would essentially take two three-way intersections and make one four-way intersection. Yeah, there it is. So with this, we've discussed that at some point in time, we'll need to replace there's a double pipe culvert as the creek crossing there. We would replace that with probably a box culvert like we've done on every other crossing throughout the city over the last 25 or so years. And then we could actually remove that one. And does the annotation work now?
We can try it. I don't know if that got fixed or not yet.
So the little piece of road that's left of Grove Drive, kind of on the left side of all the red lines that was there.
That is a no, it does not work.
Black. That would go away. It really only impacts one person as far as their driveways go. That's that person that Austin is pointing to right there. And it would be an extension of their driveway over to the road. And then we could remove the asphalt from that point going northeast. We'd have to maintain the property there. The cove has a water line in that road, and we have a sewer line. But it would still be accessible and would be fine if this is something that we'd want to look at in the future. So
Shane, when you say future, how realistically, how soon could we get started with a project like this if the council agreed that it was the way we want to go?
I think if we wanted to do this, I would probably want to look at Grove Drive from what was the 90-degree bend and is now a three-way intersection. Kind of look at, even if it's done in phases, how we want Grove Drive to look from that intersection up to this point. And so then it would come down to costs and where we could fit it in our budget. I mean, I could see us being able to do this in the next couple of years, probably. We've done a fairly major street reconstruction project the last 2 years. This year we didn't do one. We did more, or are doing more overlays and more maintenance type projects. But I can see where we could do this over the next probably couple of years or so, possibly even have it in the budget next year. So.
Okay.
So
What other questions?
So with the going down to the three-way stop down there, would you include like sidewalk, everything
That's
from that place all the way up to here? Or?
That's what I'd like to, get the input, and we'd probably need to look at some concepts and things for the rest of that. I literally threw this together one afternoon in like 10 minutes. So,
So are you talking about sidewalk all the way through the cove?
Not all the way through the cove, but
Just for this area?
just for this area where the people run, hike, and walk. Yeah.
so just an off the cuff thought that I had is if we had, and maybe we wouldn't even do curb and gutter, but if we had from that intersection, the 90-degree bend up to this point, an asphalt trail that was off the side of the road surface, that could go up to maybe, Austin, if you can point to that gravel road area there, or maybe even up to the Bowery, something like that. If we don't envision curb and gutter on that road, or even if we do, we could look at that and maybe have an asphalt trail in place with sidewalk or something like that, that would kind of be a connection between the ridge area and Lambert Park. That was kind of my first thought of how we could do that.
Shane, could you put that asphalt trail parallel to the road, or wherever it is parallel to the road, and divide it with a curb? So it's not really gutter, it's just a dividing line so people know where they're safe.
Yeah, you could. I mean, the one thing you have to remember, if you put curb and gutter in, then you've got to deal with the stormwater. I mean, you still have issues at times when you don't have curb and gutter, but when you concentrate the water and you collect it, it has to go somewhere. Because it's not just kind of slowly sheeting over the alignment of the road off the side of the road. So that's just something to consider. But
okay,
we can take, another look at this, down to that intersection, come up with some ideas and bring back. We just kind of wanted to start here and see if this is something that the council liked. It seems like a lot.
Jason, I think
confusing.
Go ahead.
layout for intersections in this area.
Yeah.
I think it's a good
Jason, I know-
solution. Sorry, Mayor. I was
That's-
down in that area today and there was a mom pushing a baby in a stroller, kids getting to the school bus, pulling large instruments, and they were pretty much in the middle of the road.
Yeah.
So I think incorporating an asphalt trail for them would be ideal if it could go all the way to the Bowery.
I think it's a nice concept overall. Is there any chance, since this is like the primary route to the trailhead, that the county or Forest Service or anyone wants to participate in the funding or anything like that?
My guess is no.
Okay.
Is this,
We could ask.
Can invite
Yeah.
them, right?
is this something along the lines of the trail that we could approach MAG and see if there's some trail funds that we could tap into?
We
And-
can, usually those projects like that are probably a minimum of 5 years out. Like the projects that will be applied for this fall are probably 5 years out
Sure.
before. They happen.
But there may be some trail monies available that are shorter term, or at least not as far out as 5 years. Because I think it would be justifiable, because if you look at the amount of traffic that's coming in to the city and going up there to use the trails, some of those will cycle in, some of them will run in. And it could be easily justified that it benefits more than the community than the city of Alpine.
Yeah, and I haven't talked specifically with the trail committee about the trail idea. I did go over this idea with Will as far as the intersection goes the other day. They're actually looking for other grant opportunities as the trail committee. And a lot of those are, you apply in the fall and you receive the grant, maybe the next spring. So they're a quicker turnaround. So there's possibilities there on that end.
Okay,
There
good.
is a lot of funding through, especially if it's a multi-use,
Mhm.
through the state
Mhm.
for those trails.
Yeah, they have several different
Uh-huh.
programs.
So are we, so just so that I get an understanding, are we prioritizing this above or in front of, our central corridor area, or? Do you know what I mean? Because it sounds like we're doing kind of the same thing. It's a multi-use trail, right?
Yeah, I guess the one thing that might bump this up is we have the priority. I mean, not the priority. It'll bump it up in priority. We have the land. So the right of way is there through the Alpine Coast subdivision being annexed into the city. It's public right of way. And then everything that's going through the brush here is city property already. So there'd be some disruption, probably to improvements people have built within the city or public right of way. But I don't believe there would be land acquisition required. And that chews up a lot of dollars.
Right, but we don't need land acquisition for the piece that's going from Twin Bridges back on. Because there's already a
Oh.
trail there. I'm talking about that trail.
Okay, I'm with you now.
I'm sorry, I probably put the wrong name to it.
Yeah, I was thinking from Main Street to like Creekside Park.
No, I'm thinking like from the bridge area, kind of by Timberline and then on back in that area.
Yeah. I mean, if that's something the city decided, I know there's different people have different thoughts whether it should be paved or not on that one. That's not a big project,
Okay.
so.
Did we have something, I think there was some work done on that this year, was there? Did we have that on our list this year?
We have money in there for trails and things, but no work
Nothing in
to
there.
my knowledge has been done
Okay.
yet.
Referring to the Dry Creek corridor?
Yes.
Okay.
So not really looking for any action, just if you want us to continue to kind of flesh out this idea in this section of the road, we can do that. We get to Box Elder and then we have curb and gutter. That is a road that needs to be overlaid sometime in the next near future. We do have a little bit of water line work that we need to do up there based on our master plan, so we're looking to maybe do that kind of right in the entrance area of Box Elder, maybe this year. So I'd hate to go overlay this and then turn around and decide we want to put curb and gutter in, so.
Well, Shane, I think that this addresses some of the concerns that were expressed by the neighbors in that area about the safety of that road and the passability of the road. Jason, I know that you brought this, I think you were the one that brought this idea up first, at least the first time I heard it. How do you feel about this addressing your concerns?
Well, I think what the goal is to let those people know that they have some safety issues. So this is just an idea to see if we can find something that's a little more safe than their existing things. I don't know if this is it, to be honest with you. Looking at, I mean, I'm trying to say to myself, I like it and I appreciate everything in your thought process behind it. But how is this better than? I mean, I appreciate your opinion, Mr. Jane. How is this better than our existing road that we have right here? It gives us a four-way stop right there. But is there, what else do you think that benefits those citizens in a safety reason?
Well, typically at the intersections, you try to have separation. So we've got 2 3-way intersections that are very close to each other, and right in between is a creek crossing.
Yeah.
And so we're eliminating one intersection completely and making a 4-way 90-degree intersection, which from the engineering standpoint is the desirable way to do that.
Because one of their safety issues is the culvert is too narrow. It needs to be rebuilt. We're gonna have to rebuild the whole culvert anyway.
Yes.
What I hear you saying. So that issue is gonna be solved regardless.
The one thing this does, when you rebuild a culvert, you have to take something out of service. This could be completely rebuilt before the other one is ever taken out.
So one thing I'm looking at, Shane, is Box Elder. Toward the bottom, it still has that kind of that hard right before it would hit that intersection. Would there be a way where we could soften that curve and curve it a little bit left, or would that eliminate the intersection that we've created with your drawing? I guess so. I guess my question is, can we do something with Box Elder to also make it a little bit better as well?
So, I don't know, can I say something? I feel like I kind of, as a rider who rides around the park, I kind of like that sharp turn because it forces people to slow down. And there is a trail crossing for Spring running east and west. And so me personally, I kind of like that because it's a natural speed deterrent without having to do a speed bump.
That's a great point, because people do come, whether they should or not, they come blasting out of that area. Okay.
But from an engineering standpoint, I don't know, do we need to change that to make it safer or?
Well, one of the complaints with long straight roads is
people go too
people
fast.
speeds. So then you have to curve in and then maybe it's too sharp or, so it just depends on what your train of thought is on that.
Well, in our ordinances actually read to make roads curve if we can. So it's part of our road ordinance.
Yeah, I agree.
So.
Okay.
So the other advantage, safety advantage is if we get a paved, off-street trail going up Grove here, because it's just so narrow in there. If you, as Jessica saw today, if you walk on there, it's pretty tight.
Yeah.
But but this is like the only way up to the trailhead, which sometimes gets just so much use in addition to Lambert Park. So it just seems like of all the places to have a sidewalk or trail. Ideally, I think the pavement is better than a sidewalk, really, in many ways. So, better than.
Thanks, Greg. Lon, any comments?
Yeah, I'm for moving forward with this concept because I've been out there thinking of how we can improve that one area, and it's just sort of a Band-Aid to what this would be, just fix it permanently, I think.
Well, we'll continue to work on some concepts and ideas and look at what's in the way and different things and bring some more information.
Okay. So I, for one, would love to see this fast tracked. I mean, not that we don't want to hurry faster than, fast enough to make it not a good project, but I think we're on to something here that needs to be done. So I appreciate the work you've done on that so far, Shane. Thank you.
Okay.
Hey, last item, I guess we're going to skip tonight. Chief William was not feeling well, but I'll give just kind of a quick synopsis of my communication with him recently. Been a few times where I've called dispatch and asked for enforcement over in front of Smooth Canyon Park as well as Healy Park to make sure that people who are parking in red are getting citations. There have been a number of citations issued. I don't remember what that number is, but I do know that there have been complaints from people for being, written tickets and that they had scattered. Once the police officers show up, they scatter pretty quick. So I think the point is getting across. And today when I drove home, I looked where I would normally see a lot of cars parked. They were mostly parked inside of the designated parking, waiting for their soccer kids to be picked up. So I think it is having a positive impact.
But to Greg's point, my son had a football game there this last week on Saturday, and there was no space at all in the junior high school. People were parked on the side, they were parked on the street, and it seemed like a quarter of the church was filled too.
Yeah.
I don't know if there's anything we can do to say, you guys can't have this many games if you don't have the parking to accommodate it.
Yeah. And on that topic, that's absolutely right. So they held 3 games at once on Saturday. That was the second time, but the last time this season. There just isn't sufficient parking at all. The only way it fits is, I mean, they'll use, half the church parking lot, but when we have 5 or 6 games in Burgess too, and they seem to align. That's kind of what happens. But, whether they have 1 game, some people will just rather park, right in front of a sign or on the red curve. So I think it's improving. Anyway, it's a work in progress. The police, by showing up, doing some citations, that's really helped. It's much safer than it was last year. Much more open, but there's still, they could, all in, they could probably give 300 tickets a Saturday, easy. So, when they give 20, so.
Yes, true.
I'll forward the letter to you. Maybe you were on it, but the Chief Williams sent a letter to the leagues and told them to make sure they distribute it to their teams and everything, that parking will be enforced. They'll be there. That just came out, I think, today. So I'll forward that on.
The other thing with football is the league has put some signs right at the front, so everyone sees it, and it says, if you're parked in the neighborhood, you'll get a ticket. So, there's a lot of warning and information. And I think it's like 2,000 feet of red curb now and 17 signs around there. So it's much better than it used to be.
Okay, thank you. Let's move to our action items. Austin, the ridge at Alpine.
All right. Shane, did you want to take this one or?
Yeah. Okay, so the ridge at Alpine Phase 5 is under construction, and part of that approval was to construct a connection between the ridge at Alpine and Alpine Cove. The Oakview Drive right-of-way was dedicated on the subdivision plat. Where did I had a year in here somewhere. I think it was 88. Yeah, in 1988. So it's been there a long time, but the road was not constructed. There at one time was a 10-foot protection strip on the west end of that right-of-way that a few years ago was taken care of. So that opened the right-of-way up there. But it was a condition of approval of the ridge to have this connection. So the contractor and developer were the point of needing to start construction on this. Last I heard, curb and gutter was scheduled for this subdivision for about September 22nd. So stakes went in up there, and some of the Mr. Smith, who is here tonight, had some concerns with that in the proximity to improvements on his property. We had a meeting out there last week, kind of talked through things, and Paul Croft actually had his engineer do a design that was a modification of what was approved. So coming from the west, from the Ridge subdivision to their east property line is full improvements, curb, gutter, and sidewalk. From that point, entering into the cove, it was proposed and approved as just a 30-foot asphalt section with no curb and gutter or sidewalk. So as this was staked on the south side of the road, Mr. Smith's driveway does go into the right of way. We typically put the pavement section right down the center of the right of way. With this staking, most of the trees on the south side there would go, including some that are not native that were planted. And the pavement would be probably within a couple of feet or maybe 3 or 4 feet of his driveway. So the developer needs answers. He probably wouldn't like to not have to do that. We feel that this connection is very important, not only for the ridge, but for Alpine Cove. You know, in the event of a fire that blocked other accesses, this would be this could be, in certain situations, the only way out of the cove. So I believe it could be beneficial to those residents as well. So this is on the agenda tonight to see if the council has different feelings from what was approved. You know, from an engineering standpoint, we like to see things, we like straight lines and curves when we have to, but we like things that go straight down the middle of the right of way. Just an example I could give you is on Moyle Drive. That street's one of the few streets in the city that does not have curb and gutter. If we decided to go put curb and gutter on that street, when it was built, the pavement was not centered within the right of way. Up towards the top on the west side, some property changed hands years ago, and we go up there one day and there's a property corner stake out in the asphalt, probably 3 feet. And that's how far the asphalt is shifted over within the right of way. So you can, and so I think the other person across the street thought, well, road's where it should be. So now they have a brick wall that we'd have to remove and different things like that if we ever went to put curb and gutter on that street. So we feel like if the asphalt shifts, that there would need to be offsetting right of way, whichever way it shifts would be our recommendation. And obviously, we'll have built whatever the council says we'll have built, but that's just our recommendation and our feeling on it.
Lon, thoughts?
There was a lot of, I went out to that meeting the other day, a lot of discussion on what could be done, what trees could be saved. And the tough thing on this one is the actual property line, and where the right away, we tried to see how we could shift that The grades are a little different, so it'd be a higher grade in order to make the transition up to the street. They're pretty complex as it pertains to try and save trees or save an area that keeps it away from the Smiths driveway there. One thing that was asked is, do we have to have that? And I think Shane talked about that briefly. We in the county, when we worked on the annexation of the Alpine Ridge, it wasn't called that at the time, but when we worked on that, that was a critical access to approving that. And so I know, Troy, you was here then. Jason, I think you were on the planning commission then. But go ahead, Troy.
No, I was just saying, I think Carla was on. Were you on by then, Carla?
Planning commission? No, she wasn't. And so I was in hopes that we could see how we might be able to work at not removing trees. I don't know how that's gonna be possible on even shifting the road over. Some of them maybe, but I'm looking at this new design and yeah, I don't know. It's really tough spot. Another question posed by the Smiths was that we just eliminate it still. And I think the word variance was used to see if they could get a variance. And we don't do a variance here on a council, is that correct? It goes to a hearing officer. So if a variance is requested, it would go somewhere else, not here. But again, I really feel for trying to make something work that's the least impactful to both. We're talking about the Smiths, but it also impacts the Skidmores as well. So we need to look at that, but I'm anxious to hear some of the other discussion. I've been in a lot of discussion on this with both neighbors there the other day. So that's all I have to say right now. Troy.
All right, thank you. Do we have comments from any other council?
Sure. I mean, I suspect the road is going in some form, unless, if anyone feels otherwise, useful. It may be. Regardless, Shane, though, the city would keep its easement as is, right? The full.
Yes.
Before, yeah. If a sidewalk went in at some point, supposing something like that, it could be put on one side or the other.
Yeah, I mean, we have streets that have sidewalk on one side and not the other. And that's mainly where, rather than expending money to purchase right of way, we just kind of fit the improvements. We saw the correct pavement width, but fit the improvements as far as sidewalk to what right of way was available. So, like High Bench Road's an example that has sidewalk on one side. Westfield Road's another.
Yeah.
Although it's
work in progress.
We have the right of way there, but there were issues that have been taken care of now. So.
Well, I mean, I went out and walked it. I'd be supportive of trying to, preserve some trees where possible. Also, so that, you don't have a road going, almost touching a driveway. Because even not as a neighbor, but as someone driving on that road, it seemed like it wasn't, seems strange to, almost pass on someone's driveway there on the south side.
So, got a comment. Me personally, it's kind of hard-
Microphone.
It's hard to visualize this because this is based on property that is on the Skidmore's private property. And I see that they're here. Is there an agreement with your neighbors, Mr. Smith, or as far as purchasing property and getting a right of way from them? Because I feel like this graphic that we're seeing isn't really representative of what we can work with now. Correct? Am I reading it correctly or no?
Yeah.
Like this is the graphic that they're showing, the only way that this would work is there's a couple of things, right? It's not center aligned so that we're kind of, we would be confined to whatever we do. We wouldn't have to, there's a reason why, as you mentioned, that you go down the center of your right of way is so that we have the freedom to do what we need to do in the future. And who knows what might come. But so this to me isn't very representative because it's representing property that we don't have. Unless, have there been any advances or what are we dealing with? Mr. Smith?
I think it's fair to let Mr. Smith comment here.
So just in answer to that, there is no determined agreement just because this was still kind of a proposed idea. I believe that Craig, Mrs. Skidmore would prefer to see it staked first before they would make the decision. I think for them, the drawing was still a little unclear. That was the response I had. I believe that we're definitely amenable and want to work something out, but I wouldn't say there's anything defined right now.
So there's a little bit of a timing issue in my mind because our ordinance and our specs say that pavement needs to be in by October 15th. If it's past that, it can be done with limitations of temperature and a bunch of different things that could cost more money. I guess one frustrating thing from our standpoint is this has been approved for probably at least a couple of years. And it's right to the point of construction. And then that's when the issue comes up. It's been known that right of way is there for a long time. And it's not uncommon on a corner lot to have a driveway that goes onto the street on each street of that corner lot. And so, as far as having the driveway touch the north side, I think there is going to be a great difference, but it's not uncommon to have that situation. If you think about, a circular driveway across.
Shane, I'm not hearing you very well. Is your mic on?
It's not, I apologize. I can hear myself really well, but I can see now that it's louder. So
thank you.
I feel for the Smiths losing trees that have been there for a long time. And I know this sounds harsh, but it doesn't seem right to me to basically make a change or reward someone from encroaching on public right of way. If it was on a park, we get complaints periodically, somebody's encroached on Lambert Park or on a trail here or there, and we're asked to go address them. But then when an encroachment comes on a street right of way, we're considering being nice to save some trees that's a buffer to the property owner. And I say that, I totally respect, I don't know you well. I say that with no disrespect. It's just the cold hard facts. But like I said before, if the council decides that we're doing something else, we give that instruction to the developer, and that's what we move forward with. So.
If I could just ask a question. I mean, I didn't get some of that stuff that you were showing in the packet, you know, explaining the whole explanation. I just simply got.
It, for
Two of
some
these things.
reason, there's a whole write-up that should be on this page,
That
but
would be
it's not
so
there.
beneficial to have. But,
It's actually good right.
we didn't see it.
Do you have access to the Z drive?
So, but again, just to prepare for the meeting, it would have.
this? It's not this, it's in the packet?
All I got in the packet.
It's my cover sheet that I
Page
wrote.
and a half. Yeah,
Yes, that's it, I think, Austin.
I could print that off for the council members.
So can I just understand?
Can you
so-
just zoom in on it and show
Yeah.
it here, maybe?
So as I'm looking at this particular one right here, Shane.
Yes.
This shows, if I understand correctly, what would happen if we had a straight 30-foot road on it that went straight from the Pack property to the Cove Drive, right?
Yes.
This one here shows that it starts at a 30-foot but ends at 26, is that right?
Yes, so
So,
that's the proposal that Paul Croft had his engineer
Oh.
draw up as a possibility to consider.
And so I was saying that was kind of hard because it's showing that it's, you know, there's a curve and whatnot, and it's going off center from our easement. But it's also showing that this would work if they get a right of way, or, you know, if Mr. Smith purchased property from the Skidmores up above. Does that make sense? So the hashtag or the hashed area up above, that's not in our easement. That's private property.
Right, and what that does is maintains the right-of-way hole in the pavement down the center of the right-of-way. You know, if you were to shift the pavement within the existing right-of-way,
No, that's not in the center of the right of way. The center of the right of way, it's off.
that
You can see
requires
that.
selling that portion of it too.
so it's, yeah, it's probably,
Looks
it's
off.
probably not center, but they've,
It starts off centered and then it goes.
yeah.
It still maintains that 10 foot, or about 10 feet
Let's see.
that shows on the curb and gutter on the other side. Still shifts to show 10 feet from edge of asphalt, even though it's a 26-foot asphalt. There would be more than 10 feet on the south side, but on the north side, it still shows from edge of asphalt to edge of right of way.
Yeah, so it is offset 6 feet from center.
Six.
Yeah, I just did the math here, so.
Offset 6, but with the narrowing of the from 30 to 26.
That's correct.
It's still on that north side. If you shifted the right of way, how many feet is that showing?
They're showing 12 feet, so it's probably taking around four feet of
Yeah.
the Skidmore property, I'm guessing.
Yeah, so it's still, even though the road shifts, if the right of way shifted, it would still be about a 10-foot or whatever skirt on there.
It's 3 feet. Jed he kind of figured it out. It's 3 feet. The hatched area is 3 feet wide. There's 9 feet from there to the pavement edge, 26 feet of
Okay.
pavement, 4 foot, and then 17, so.
So that's what would need to be acquired, 3 feet there, and then be offset.
Well, I mean, there's gonna be grading. We need to do something with the water. If we drop the road and essentially put a sag vertical curve in it, the low point would force water into the Smith's garage.
Yeah.
And that's not what we want to do. So we want to make sure that it grades to the west and the water can discharge into the drainage that's close to the property line there. So.
Can I ask if the retaining walls are gonna be on the Smith side or on the other?
Well, we believe that we can grade within the right of way, depending on if we're trying to
Really?
save trees or whatever. I mean, if you look at the numbers at the bottom of this profile, there's 2 elevations. There's a EG is existing grade and FG is finished grade. So if you take the difference between those, that's the fill. So at station 2+00, you're about a 2.3 foot fill. So
2 foot, wow.
almost,
Because when I looked at it from there, where the, their driveway is, it looks about to the other side, about 4 feet high.
so that is at center line. So as the ground slopes away from center line, the fill would be deeper going south. So your eyes telling you correctly.
So you wouldn't put a retaining wall on either side then?
It may be necessary. Once a design is homed in on, that can be figured out.
Do we have any rules in our ordinance regarding how far a driveway has to be from that turn, to go down that street? Where the Smith's driveway comes out the front?
Yes. I wish I had that number. I want to say it's like 20 or 30 feet.
So this right now wouldn't be within that ordinance by doing it that way, coming out the front.
Yeah, I mean, we have driveways that are closer than that. It's kind of an ideal and kind of what we like to see. But when a situation like this occurs, we normally would not make a driveway be moved over. So
that's not an exception. We normally just design it, but
yeah,
can do otherwise.
It's more of a guideline, the distance from the corner for a driveway. So
Would we work with the homeowner, the Smiths, as far as if they wanted to have a driveway that came in off this cut road, that we grade it accordingly, or would we just?
it would be fine. We looked at it out there that day and we didn't think it would work out super well with the elevation of their existing concrete driveway.
It's about 2
I
feet
think,
up,
I
right?
think they were wanting still though a buffer really, right? Not necessarily drive in.
Yeah.
So if as we looked at that too, if some retaining could be done, then they might have some room to use a buffer. But again, we talk about snow removal, and if a fence went in, a problem with the fence then would be, where's the snow moving to? There's other aspects of this that you don't think of until it occurs, until we have a snow, and we're hoping we have a snow. So that's another issue. Where does it push? Where does it push to? And I suppose in some areas you can turn your plow one way and then flip back and try and move snow all to one side, but that was another concern as to.
You landscape this, right?
I did landscape this
Did you
yard.
normally plant trees on city property?
No, I did not plant trees on city property.
So none of these trees were planted? They were already there?
No, I did not plant trees on city property. So some of those trees were planted.
But you did, okay, so the trees
You're
weren't
asking me a
there.
question.
No, I'm just trying to figure out, I didn't know if I don't know enough about trees, and I don't know if they're like
No,
naturally.
there are a
growing
few
there,
pine
or-
trees there that look like they have been put in.
Okay.
Yep. Correct. There's some blue spruce in there that were planted that,
That were planted or they were native?
no, that were planted.
Oh, okay.
Mhm. So all the scrub oak was there. There's a mountain mahogany tree that is there, but again, that one probably won't survive the excavation.
See, and that's where
part.
I'm at, like, when I was talking to Jessica about it, we were discussing this, that, to go from 30 feet to 26 feet, because then you have 4 feet. But when I was talking to our engineers, and the purpose of doing that was to provide a buffer for the Smiths, that they can create, they can keep those trees and have the buffer in the road. But from my understanding, Shane, and Jed's not here, is that going from 30 feet to 26 feet, it's not gonna protect, you're not gonna have the buffer. So that's where I'm at, is even if we did go narrower, I'm not convinced that you would have that buffer, that the trees would be coming out.
Carla, I'm sorry to interrupt your point. Just one moment, Lon. If I could just remind those who are having any kind of side conversations to unmic themselves while they have that conversation, that would be great. Thank you. Sorry.
So, yeah, so Carla, when we looked at that as well, though, they may have to come out, but if there was some room, you could replant something, some kind of a buffer. That would be the hope, that we have enough room then that there could still be a buffer. That's the hope of the Smiths. Now, I'm not saying that that's a realistic hope, but as I'm looking at it, from my perspective, go out there and see, is some retaining necessary? Can you get enough that you could plant something that might not be a pine tree, but it could be something that creates a natural element of space between. I looked at it from that perspective, and I like to see if we can do something to help. If we can't, we can't. But I'm looking at it from a professional perspective to say this can be done if we have this kind of room. And but it is tight still at that. I don't think we can save some of those trees, even with the shift in it. But can we plant something else in there after? Maybe.
And I think some trees would be saved with the,
Yeah, some of those trees down there will.
Some would be lost for sure.
And I guess looking at it from the big picture and thinking 20 years down the road, who knows what's going to happen? If more trees are planted, they might be an issue 20 years down the road, and you spent 20 years growing a tree that all of a sudden is an issue 20 years down the road. So that's just.
I'm not debating that at all. I was just looking to see if there is a solution to a concern.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, it sounds, my preference would be to shift it to north a little bit to a natural place. But that, relies on the Skidmore. That, it's not fair to put pressure on them to sell land or whatever, right? But, and so that's fully up to them. If not, I'd probably be okay with the 26-foot width. But it seems like those are our options, right? So I don't know. What else we can do there?
But does the 26-foot width require the sale for the Skidmore property there up on the top, or are you just saying bring it straight down as opposed to doing the curve to the north?
Yeah, I'm not certain. Do you know, Shane?
Well, that's what's unclear.
Yeah.
Is this even an option? I mean, we're discussing something that
Yeah.
we don't have all the information, and the other point we have to take into consideration is we have a developer who is paying for a 30-foot road. So there's some kind of cost to the city that's lost if we go to a narrow road that I look at and think, does that need to be reconciled? With the cost of it, if we go more narrow at some point, and we would have to go back to a 30-foot, because like you said, we don't know what's going to happen. We would also need to look at that financial piece to the city.
Yeah.
But if we went straight down there and didn't, assuming that we didn't go to the Skidmores, Mr. and Mrs. Skidmore, to ask for that or figure that out, if we just went straight from there to there and went from a 30 to 20, 26, obviously both sides will gain 2 feet or distance from the road. The easement will stay the same, but that's an option too, I guess. That's kind of, unless there's some type of an agreement between both parties that they trade some land to move things around a little bit. We either do a 30-foot road, or we start with a 30 and go to 26. The only benefit there is a 2-foot benefit to both sides.
Yeah, Jason, and we looked at that when we were out there, and 2 foot hardly makes any difference on the south side. Really, the hope on this shift in the Smiths mines is that we get 4 feet on the one side, on the south side. And that's where that is coming, because if you just do 26 in a straight line, 2 feet hardly is significant to that side, that south side.
I think where we go depends on the council's willingness to allow the asphalt to shift within the right of way.
Within the current right of way and not move. So that 12 foot that it shows on the top right now would be 8 feet then, or 8 feet, yeah, because we're shifting. It wouldn't, it would look like the picture shows without that hatched mark up there, and we would just lose the right of way on that, or the distance between the edge of asphalt and a possible future sidewalk, if ever. And I don't know that it would ever go in. I mean, everything else in the cove that's why the transition really is at that point, is everything else in the cove is just asphalt to the edge. And the best transition for stopping the curb and gutter was at the end of that new construction area. That's the best solution for a transition, and then have no sidewalk on that.
Right, so when I asked the city, what would be the downside of going from 30 to 26, as the cove is already 26 feet wide without, the encroachment, the overgrowth, because now I guess if you measure in some places, it's 25. But, I think they're looking at it fiscally. They don't know what's going to happen in the future, right? And I think, because that, for me, I look at it completely naively going, yeah, why don't we just go off center, push it up, provide a buffer, we get to keep these beautiful trees. But I think what I appreciate that our city staff does is they are looking, above and beyond the interest of a single individual and looking at the whole city plan. They don't know what's going to happen in the future. City council changes every 2 years. And depending on that, they might not ever do curb and gutter in the code. They might not ever have curbing or sidewalks, but we don't know that. You could have, maybe there's gonna be 5 people all from the code be on city council, and that's what they demand. And then you're stuck in, what are you gonna do? Who knows? Do you know what I mean? I mean, Alpine's just been so crazy funky lately. I'm never gonna predict anything and never say never. I do appreciate that they are providing us with a long-term view. But, I think, what they were saying is, we have a developer who's paying for a 30-foot road. If at any time in the future we wanted to go from 26 to 30, then it's on, then that's our dime. And it's not just an additional 4 feet. You've got to repave the whole thing. You can't just add a 4-foot section and say, okay, we've got a 30-foot road now, whatever we may do. So that is the downside to that. But with that being said, as far as the usage and where it is in the cove, it's on the north end of the cove, on the very western part. I think I might be okay, although I feel like the city is losing going from, 30 to 26 feet, but I still think it needs to be down the center. Just to protect us so that we have the freedom to do what might need to be done in the future. I think we need to plan ahead.
Thanks, Carla. Is there anyone prepared to make a motion? And while you consider your motion, if someone is getting ready, I'll remind council that we are officially to adjourn at 9 o'clock, which is about 38 minutes away. So we'll either need a motion to extend our time or to table some items, is my prediction, unless we can move through the rest of our agenda more quickly.
So
So Shane, is the question, are there two questions here? One, the width, and two, whether it's on center or offset?
Yeah, I
Those are
believe
the-
so. And then the third is if it shifts, are we gonna require right away to keep that pavement section centered?
Yes, I think if we do shift, we should do that.
Say that again. Come on.
Is the council willing to look at some photos?
Mayor,
Yes, but again, we should probably, I don't want to be unfair and not give enough time to this topic, but we need to consider the rest of the meeting as well. Let's go ahead and see the photos for sure.
Do you have that queued up? Yes. There you go, next slide. Okay, so we've already talked about the fact that it's on the driveway. This has been known for a long time. We knew it, we told the original developer, Will Jones did as well. Anyway, next slide. Now, this is the one that kind of irks me a little bit. The developer went ahead and graded that. The yellow line in the middle photo is should have been the extent of the road easement. That blue line down there is the extent of the pavement. They just missed it big time. And unfortunately, the trees they took out there in that roughly 10 feet happened to be about 30 feet tall. They were maples that had been probably got their start when the canal went right through here, the irrigation canal. And they have left lots of debris and rocks and stuff. So let's just go on. That's just oh, and on the one side, you can see, I did draw a line, the red line up there is center line. Very, very difficult, and I admit that. Let's go to the next one. So there are other options. There on the number one is one that hasn't been considered, and I don't think we want to. It's most intrusive, and that's putting curb and gutter in there. At the bottom is use a trail instead, and I know that's not favored, but has been considered in the past. Next. And that's just the picture of shows how forested that was in there before they started grading. Okay, next. This is the stuff around it. Let's go to the next slide. I'm going fast because we don't have time. Okay, when the Melby put in the cove, what they did was they said, we would like to buy the Pack Farm and we need to have two accesses. And so in yellow were there two accesses. That was, our plot was done in 1987. And I think the one to the south of it, ours was A, and C, the one at the south came a year later. So next slide. Okay, the next one is Robert's concept. That was the first development plan after Grandma Pack died. And here they had a trail that was along there, and their two access roads were, one was in Grandma Pack's front yard, and the other one was Elk Ridge Lane. Next slide. And then Chapel bought it after that, and he says, oh, I want it as a farm. And I'm going to have one access, and it's going to be the driveway that is now the second road up. And there wasn't going to be anything else other than the fact the Roberts plan that we just skipped had marvelous trails on the hillsides. It had a marvelous park down in the valley that is now being filled. But that all went away, and he made sure that those things such as the trail next to our house was eliminated from the trail plan, master plan. Okay, next slide. The current concept has 4 roads. One on Elk Ridge Lane that has been built, one that is built but not really used yet that goes in there. I've noted where that is. Number 3 is the one that goes through Grandma Pack's driveway, and number 4 is not built, and that's next to us. And so the question really became one. This is the only development I know going in that needs 4 roads. Usually it's 2 roads. So next slide.
I've got to jump in there.
Okay,
That-
jump
that
in.
comment does not consider what the fire code says with accesses. So
Okay,
that
we'd love to hear that.
going back, we did some research today, going back to a previous fire marshal back, I think it was in 2016. It's discussed, and there's letters and things of why that connection needs to be there. for
So
this development.
that's also one of the reasons when the cove was developed, the 2 accesses were on the east and west side, and that's why the Grove Street isn't part. That's not the only reason, but Grove Street was not considered part of the cove so that it had an access on the east side and an access on the west side as the 2 accesses to the subdivision. Now, admittedly, some of the houses do come out into Grove Drive. But so this in 1916, I don't know that sorry, 2016, going back a long ways there. I'm not sure that I've seen that or was aware that there was something that impacted the cove. I thought the cove was grandfathered the way it was at the time it was built. But
Well, it's for the new development. The new development needs to meet the current fire code.
may have the rest of the city meet the current fire code or the development plot.
Well,
meet
the rest of the
fire code?
city's like the code, it would have met whatever, it should have been required to meet whatever the code was at that time.
Okay, so that means that they would also have to take care of Box Elder South and the other places in the city that aren't next to it as well.
But I also think based on the fire chief and whatnot, the trail is not an option at this point. We're discussing a road, and so I'm just saying we can talk about the trail
Okay.
more, but just, for
Okay,
sake
so
of time,
it looks like it's not an option. I still think it's the best option, but that's a difference of opinion. Okay, let's not take time there, but let's move on to the next. So there have been some suggestions that the main reason to have that road is for the potential 40 homes up in Melby's property, and what is it, 35, or that could be 40 in the Patterson property, and that they needed access. Of course, the likelihood of them coming down Alpine Cove Drive is, from you, as you can see here, not the way that they would access Grove Street. So the next slide. So to recap, the first ones are kind of, I think, off the road. The 26 feet sounds like where you tend to be coalescing right now. I would maintain that still that the best way would be to go back to the Roberts plan, which was a trail, and that the 3 axes are sufficient. And but that's a personal opinion. And next slide here, and I think that goes back to the picture. Really wondering how we mitigate this taking out of a lot of the soil, 30-foot trees, and debris is easy to get rid of, but the trees and the soil in the trees is a bigger deal, at least from my perspective. Well, thank you for letting me to say a couple words here, but I thought that those slides made some sense.
And we by no means gave the developer permission or the developer's contractor to take those trees out. It's the first, when I went up there, I noticed it right off the bat, and I pointed it out to Paul as soon as he got there. So they're gonna have to work that out with the Skidmores on what they've done there.
Thank you, Craig, for those comments. All right. I feel compelled to move us along. Do we have anything that needs to be discussed before a motion is made? And do we have a motion prepared? For lack of a motion, I'd recommend a consideration for tabling the motion until the next meeting. Or tabling the topic until next meeting when more research can be done.
Yeah, is there a timeline that we need to?
Well, the next meeting is the 28th. I asked when curb and gutter was scheduled when we met on site. Paul said the 22nd. And that pavement was scheduled, I believe he said a couple weeks after that.
So obviously we're not doing curb and gutter in this area, so it wouldn't, curb and gutter aspect, it's the asphalt and the prep work for the asphalt and that we're facing.
And did Paul?
Paul was on there.
He's on.
Yeah.
Yes, I'm here.
Paul, you could probably speak better to your schedule. I can just tell you what our spec says when you can pave.
Yeah, I think Shane, I think it's a great discussion. I think what we'd try to avoid would be 2 mobilization fees because we think we would be paving shortly after the week of the 22nd. So we could be paving by the 28th. Curb and gutter goes in first and then road prep and then paving. If this topic is tabled and we're unable to get the road ready because the alignment's not yet been determined and we're ready to pave the rest of phase 5, then we have to come in and pave this later. That's another mobilization fee, which is expensive. So that certainly wouldn't be our preference. And I think, Shane, the outside pave date for the city code is, unless temperatures are warm enough to allow, I think October 15th or so is the latest date where we could pave.
Yeah, that's what the spec says. There's provisions in there if temperatures meet certain conditions and that. So as a general rule, it's October 15th.
So
yeah. So we're to the effect that it wouldn't affect us financially to get another mobilization fee in there to have them come back and pave that. We're fine with a later pave date if that gives us more time for the city council to decide what ideally they'd like to do there. We're willing to do with whatever the city and the neighbors feel like would be best. I think there's been great discussion tonight. A lot of the issues brought up. I think all the relevant information's out on the table. Just a decision of what the city would like to have done there. I do think regarding the realignment of the easement area or the right of way, that if we first figure out the width of the pavement and the alignment of the pavement, that we have the 2 decision makers there with Todd Smith and Craig Skidmore. If their agreement or promise to work on a right-of-way alignment that then would match the road alignment, that part would be able to be solved pretty easily if we have willing parties to do that.
So it sounds like we'd have time to consider this next meeting, or?
Well, maybe I would be in favor of reducing the width of the road. So if we can start figuring a few things out right now.
Yep.
And maybe if we were to go up there, all of us, have it state where the road would be going and with the new width, the 26-foot wide, and have the visual options. Maybe that would help us as a council feel better about what we're saying could occur. Just a thought on that, but I'm good to move that to the 26-foot width.
I am as well.
So I have a question, and maybe Craig can answer this. If we go from 30 to 26, again, we're we've got an opportunity to have a 30-foot road paid for. Is there a vehicle where the benefactor of a more narrow road could put it in a kind of, we determine an amount and it's.
The excess.
Mhm.
4 feet.
Yeah,
Given to the city in
Yeah.
some fashion.
yeah.
For tree remediation or something like that.
However, if it's possible, because again, we're looking at, from the city standpoint, losing the potential of having that paid for by a developer. And if in the future it's something that we end up needing to do, then the money has already been.
Well, let's ask Paul.
Yeah, I mean, financially, we're obligated to pay for a 30-foot road, and we bonded for the project and have it budgeted. So, I mean, to the extent it's narrowed down and we're able to use some of that money to do something else, we'd be willing to contribute that.
Very good, thank you.
Does
Okay,
that help
so
with the
Mayor,
motion?
I move to reduce the width of the road from 30 to 26 feet.
Okay. Is that the extent of your motion, Carla, or is there anything else you'd like to include?
Nope, that's the extent of my motion. Oh, and that the developer put in escrow the difference between the cost of between a 30-foot road and a 26-foot road in an escrow account.
Okay.
I'll
So,
second.
okay, so we have a motion by Carla Merrill, second by Greg Gordon. Any consideration or questions for the motion?
Oh, actually, I did want to be specific on the escrow account to
Yeah.
the city to be used for transportation purposes on that road. Is that good enough or no, Train? Will that work?
Or is that too narrow, transportation
Yeah.
purposes?
Okay, so an escrow account to the city, the cost difference between a 30-foot road and a 26-foot road.
Okay. Do we have legal obligation on how we can spend that money? Is there anything attached to that, Craig, like there is with impact fees?
No.
Okay.
Consider it somewhat of a donation.
Thank you,
Okay.
Paul.
And Greg, are you still okay?
Yes.
Second motion?
Yeah, I'll second.
Okay. We have a motion by Carla, second by Greg. Any further discussion on the motion?
Yeah, a little bit here. I guess you've left out any alignment things. Is there any room to discuss alignment issues beyond this motion then?
There's always room, but for where it stands now, I would say it's the center alignment, what the city had originally planned. And I don't feel like we should even consider moving the alignment unless we have an easement on the other side that's equal to it.
So Carla, would you like to incorporate the motion?
I'm sorry, no, I'll leave my motion as,
Well,
I mean, I guess I could, change it to the last part. If we do go off center alignment, I do feel like we need to require that the city has, that the city require an easement on the north side.
Is it called?
Okay.
Right away.
Oh, I'm sorry, that the city
Right.
has the right of way, so, but that would be upon Mr. Smith to obtain for the city, not for us.
okay, so Carla, you're saying if it's not
Center alignment,
centered,
correct.
then a easement to the north,
Yes,
right of way
the
to the
right of way
north.
to the north
need-
must be acquired
secured
by
for-
Mr. Smith.
Okay.
And I would
So-
add, if we're gonna do that, there has to be some timeline attached to that, meaning
It's gotta be quick. right?
within the
Yeah.
next week. I mean,
Yeah.
if it's not, then it moves forward.
Yeah, by next meeting, and if it's not, then they'll need to proceed with.
Well, so I guess we ought to ask, initially at the beginning, Todd mentioned that the Skidmores weren't comfortable with just the drawing. Are you still, would you be more comfortable then if it was staked out as per the drawing? So that you could see if this was even part of the negotiation discussion? Because if you're not even willing to get into that part of the discussion, we don't even need to talk about that, right? if the Skidmores and the Smiths are willing to get into a discussion about shifting that and getting more right away. And we talked about this too, Shane, right? They will have enough property to maintain their 1 acre.
Yeah.
If that were taken out, because that was a critical part, that we didn't reduce the lot size outside of the zoned lot.
Yes.
So I think that's a critical part of even any of the shift, is that it be having willing participants. Right?
So I mean, I don't want to put anyone on the spot.
Yeah,
but that's something
yeah,
that you
we-
guys need to
yeah.
discuss. And so I think
Yeah.
we just put a time limit on it, because obviously the developer needs to move forward. And
Yeah.
so, you know, the timeline that we have is Paul, you said what, the 28th, is that correct? Or am I off?
Well, that's
No,
when
you-
gutter is scheduled.
No, curb and gutter is scheduled the 22nd. So paving, depending on when we can get scheduled with the batch companies, could be that same week. So I don't have a firm date for you now.
Okay, so we have a motion by Carla, and I want to make sure we read that motion back, Bonnie, because I think there's enough added and subtracted from it that we need to get clarification. Would you mind reading it back?
But we have Mrs. Smith at the
Mrs. Skidmore.
Skidmore, sorry, I didn't know which was which, sorry.
Yeah, I just want to get clarification on the motion before we do anything else.
Okay, Carla Merrill moved to reduce the road from 26 feet to 30 feet, putting
30 to 20.
30 to 20, sorry, 30 feet to 26 feet. And putting the excess, the cost savings into an escrow account for the city. And then she said, if we go off center of the alignment, that the city has the right of way to the north to be acquired by Mr. Smith by next meeting. That's kind of what she said.
Yeah,
so.
the city requires the right of way. That's a condition of it.
Okay, just number one condition, okay?
Okay, so just to get clarity, Greg, are you good with the way that is worded with your second?
Yes, thanks.
Okay, good. All right, good. So we have a motion on the table, and I feel like we need to start moving forward. But Mrs. Skidmore, would you be able to make your statement in a minute or two?
Yes, I am not.
Okay.
Is the road alignment what they've already cleared, or are they going to be moving more? I mean, is it a 30-foot one that they've done and they're going to be shrinking it, but shrinking it from the
That's a
south?
great question. As what I saw out there, what they over excavated on your part would probably be about the amount that would be
So
there.
no more to the north.
Well, there could possibly be some side grading on it, but we'd have to see where those stakes were. There could be.
Stake them with more stakes.
Okay, I hope a different color. Okay.
Yeah.
So Paul?
Yes, what we'll come out and we could possibly stake the current drawing as it's proposed, and then stake anything else if anybody wants to look at if there were no additional right of way given on the north side, what we would have to do, which I think would be shifting it a little bit south, but we can have that staked.
That would be great if we can see the two different alignments, the center alignment and then shifting to the north.
Yeah, we're willing to do that. And then, hey, while I have the table, just one clarification on the motion, if I may, just to be clear, if this does have us incur another mobilization fee, and that mobilization fee offsets some of the cost savings from going from 30 to 26, we'd hope that we could offset the additional mob fee from what would be dedicated to the city.
Come on, Paul.
I don't know. I don't know if
That's kind
that'll
of like
be.
the Grinch, isn't it? Or the Scrooge, you give a
No.
Christmas present and give it back?
No, I'm not.
on.
I'm not giving it back. I'm hopeful that we won't have a vote fee and we can get all this squared away later this week and then we'll be fine. That's my hope. That's what we'll work toward.
The motion had a deadline of 2 weeks, right?
It does.
Yes. Does. Okay, so let's move forward with the vote. Motion on the table by Carla, seconded by Greg. All in favor?
I,
Any opposed?
I want a little more clarification, just to make sure I know what I'm voting for. With change to 26.
yes.
If an alignment is shifted, we still need the right of way to the north in order to shift it. Otherwise, it's center line. Okay.
With the
And
deadline.
probably just a little more clarification. It starts at 30 feet on the west and it tapers down to 26 feet on the east.
Correct.
Yeah,
Okay.
good point.
Okay. And okay. I'm good with that. Yes.
So your vote is yes, Lon?
Yes.
Okay. Are there any opposed? That motion passes unanimously. Okay. Thank you to the Skidmores and to Paul Croft. We spent some time on this, so hopefully we've made the right decision to move forward. And to
Thank
that
you.
point, we have a total of 5 more items to work through. So congratulations on working through the first of 6 items and about 10 minutes to spare.
Can we table some, namely
Yes.
concept, upper parking lot concept? We can talk about that another time. The ARPA funds project, unless there's something pressing we can talk about.
There is one thing pressing, but it'll only take it.
And the Lambert Trail construction.
But
We
we've
can-
got trail
I-
coming right here.
Yeah,
Yeah.
but still, we're past 9.
Yeah, but can I
By a
make a
long
motion
ways.
that we continue until we work through our agenda items? We're coming to the end of the year and I think it'd be good.
Well, and I think we've got to give consideration to the fact that some people are there. I'm assuming Will is in the audience
Yes,
to present upon request. So I don't want to be unfair to those people who've come to do
Yeah,
that.
I think let's table that one.
Will has his consultant here too, so I think
Oh, yeah.
on the one that,
Okay. For which one? though?
unless you want to.
I'm just kidding. No.
Secondary
So-
access to the trail.
So Jason, if you would like to move to table the Lambert Park Trail construction and the
I make a motion to table C, the trail, 3 Falls upper parking lot concept, and F, Lambert Park Trail construction.
okay, motion by Jason. Thielen.
I'll second that. Oh,
Lon, did you second that?
I say we've got somebody waving their arms in the
Waving his
crowd.
arms.
Topic.
Okay, yes.
Okay.
I move to table C.
Okay.
Okay,
I will second that.
all in favor?
Aye.
But we have to go, we can go quicker on these.
Yeah,
Yeah, we can move to,
this one was hard.
I'm
Let's go.
opposed. I want to hear everything.
Ah,
Okay,
all right.
let's move on.
Will. So just to give a little bit of introduction, I have asked Will to come and help us understand what's happening on the secondary access road with the cuts, especially related to the cuts that are so highly visible. I know that there have been some unforeseen circumstances, excuse me, because the cut material is so, I guess for lack of a better term, barren of any nutrients. It's gonna be hard to revegetate. And so I'd like to hear from Will and maybe help us understand how we can give answers to the community as they give us calls and comments regarding the visibility of that road. Thank you, Will, for coming.
You bet. Is there any specific questions with me tonight? It's Davey Breinhart. Geez, if I can speak, it's been too long. But we're here to answer your questions directly. If you have questions that we can answer, we're happy to tell you. Rather than spend I've got a whole bunch of stuff I can say, but we're gonna cut it and we'll go just whatever you guys need to know.
My questions would be simple, just completion timeline and then plans for revegetation or, visual mitigation.
Okay,
Just
let's
brief,
do that.
yeah.
Today, we got set, so the phase 4 that comes down to it, Three Falls Way is curbed, the curb will be poured tomorrow morning. That will be paved in a week, and then we start all the way down to secondary access. Right now on the secondary access, we finished today the waterways that have to go across there, because we're putting curb and gutter all the way to the bottom. And so because of that, we had to put boxes in and storm drain. That is complete. So we're ready to go. We will start staking. We'll stake it in 3 phases, and then we'll start the curb and gutter. The hope is that we're through by the end of September, because if we're gonna make the October 15th, we got to be through with curb and gutter no later than October 7th. Because we need to let it sit for about a week before we actually put asphalt on it. So that's the plan right now. Every time I turn around, it's a beautiful thing up there. The boxes went from 4 foot to 8 foot just because of the kind of things we need to do. Digging off the side is twice what it should have been. So, but we're there. But that's the plan right now. Now, that said, right now we have already scheduled, I've already got the contract with Hydro Seed, Summit Hydro Seeding. There's areas that will be able to be hydro seeded. If you've been up there, you notice that we haven't, we've got a picture of it. Austin has a picture of some of the area that has been redone already. There was an old road there. That road is gone. It's been soiled all the way through. We're ready to put hydro seed on it. I just got to put some of the matting on it to make sure that it doesn't erode. We're going to this fall, and my bid is to the trails, which have been redone for the 3rd time. It's been a beautiful thing, but they are going to be hydro seeded also. He can reach 250 feet from the existing road to hydro seed up. So what we'll do is we'll come from the very top and do the top 2 things of more effort, and then we should be able to reach the majority of it from the bottom and hydro seed that. We'll hydro seed the old road. There are several areas that are soil, which is a surprise to all of us that there actually was any soil with what we dealt with up there. But those will be hydro seeded at the same time. The down slopes, the downhill slopes will be hydro seeded at the same time. And we'll put wattles across those in the next 2 weeks so that they can come hydro seed. Again, we'd like to get that done so we get some germination this fall. That's the goal. That's what they like to do. Right now, they have a contract for the 30th of September. And that's what I'm hoping, because I really like to do that. To do that, we've got to get the curb in, and we've got a few more areas to soil. If you've been up, you've seen we've been soiling as long as we go down that thing just as fast as we can, and we get an area completely cleared, we go ahead and soil. So that's it. Then the next thing that you're probably wondering about, that's what Davey's here too. We've looked at multiple things here, but what we finally come up with is a material like this. This is green. Ours would not be green. It will be brown, and this would be on the wall areas. The amazing thing that happened to us is that it's pure rock. We actually jackhammered for 3 weeks that last section because the rock is so solid. This stuff, David could describe it better than I can, but quickly, it will hold the rocks from coming down. It will keep it in. It's actually attached to the slope. It's UV protected. It will last. It will be there. It's behind the curb. We are discussing at this point if it will need another little fence, which would be again colored so that it wouldn't be, and these are structural fences so that, you know, rock, if a rock did happen to come down, it won't go through. It will be there to protect it, and that'll give us another protection along that side of the road. So when we're through, shouldn't see it. That's the goal. Hide as much of that as we possibly can. It's been an amazing experience. I would have never guessed. So I hope that answered that.
Well, Will, you've had surprises on both roads now, right? I mean, the road going down to Fort Canyon and also this one, a little bit more pricey than you expected.
Well, by far. In fact, if you guys remember, in the original contract that was done for Three Falls up there, which was called Allegheny, it was $15,750 a lot for 30 lots to build that road, which is less than $600,000. The road just cost $6.2 million. So the city had taken an agreement for 600, and yet it cost 6.2. Now, this
Yeah.
road here, we thought originally was gonna be $1 million. We're gonna be over 2 million on it. But you know what? Here's the thing. This thing just eats my lunch because I keep doing this because I want to do it right. And that's the goal. And so when I get questioned and harassed, it just raises me up because I'm going, wait a minute, guys. I see this more than anybody. I'm there. I don't want it to be bad. That's a great thing. I built a beautiful subdivision and I stink because I did a horrible secondary access road. Personally, I hate the secondary access road. I would have loved never to have done it. I proposed 12 feet because there were 27 homes already there existing and they didn't have a secondary road. So why the crap do I need? But anyhow, you decide I do. And then you follow your ordinance and you say, okay, 20 feet. Well, then that's a beautiful thing until we decide we want curb and gutter. So now it's 4 feet. Now it's 24 feet. And whose options are those? Those aren't mine. I didn't vote for that, but we did it. And then I have to involve, and we met your ordinance. I know what you're doing. You have to. That's what you're held to. I get that. But it's crazy when people get concerned about it because I'm going, the crud, go look. Look at the dang project. I have done 3 times what anybody else would have done up there. I guarantee you. And I don't quit. Every time I see an issue, the trail has rebuilt 3 times. Honestly, done the way the normal developer, the trail would go in maybe next week or October 15th when I'm done. We'd build a trail. But I like the trails. I want the trails. I want you to use them. So we build them early. So I get to rebuild them and then rebuild them. And then what I get in the last 2 weeks, we've had 4 themes of vandalism up there. By the way, I haven't told you one. They took out the solar panels up on the upper tank. So, you know, it's a beautiful thing. This is what we deal with. And so that's why I say, if you wonder why Will gets uptight when we talk about things not being right up there, it's this. I mean, Davey, I had Davey up there this year with me because we hit a water going down that secondary road. Who would have guessed there's a spring on that secondary road, right in the middle of the darn thing? And he had to come up with ways to do it, mitigate it, take care of it. He's been there so many times this year to look at things and say, okay, what can we do? How do we grade this back? What do we do? Because my whole goal was, guys, is when I submitted a plan all those years ago, it had a secondary road, approved, done. Could have built it, would have been wonderful. I could have walked down the street and gone on. It had large walls on both sides of the road, horrible things. I mean, it made a mess. So I hired an engineer after learning that my engineer wasn't perfect before. And it wasn't Dave. But the other engineer, we learned some things as we built it. As good as they weren't perfect. And so I hired another engineer. He came out, the road was staked, we were ready to start. He looked at it and goes, really? You want to build this? I said, no, because what you see now would have been double what you see. Most of it on the downhill side, which I couldn't have taken care of. You had 300-foot fill areas that we had to fix. So what we did, we moved in, which helped us shorten some of the top and shorten the downhill side by major. Costs more to do, but it's done. So we're there, we're getting there. This stuff, I think will do the trick. I've looked at so many different ways to figure out how to make the white dang rock disappear. And it's not going to. Yes,
Will?
We're in coverage.
Will, is that material similar to what we see up Provo Canyon, for example, on their sidewalls that they had to basically?
No. That's a concrete. And if we were going to do the concrete, that's one of the reasons I got so involved with it, is because the concrete, we don't have the funding to go ahead and color it and sculpture it and do all that kind of thing on this. This is more like if you've driven over to Cascade Springs on the new road, it's along the roads in American Fork Canyon. That's what they have used to protect those sites. So if you go to the ridge and then go down to Cascade on the left-hand sides where they've done some digging, this is the same material they put in there.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you for the report. Yeah. Here's Davey. Let Davey, I'm not even sitting here for 3 hours. So.
Yeah, okay, sorry. Let me interrupt you briefly because I have to have a motion to continue the meeting in order for us to continue. But please stay right where you are. I think Jessica expressed a desire to make such a motion.
I'll make a motion that we continue the meeting until we hear all our agenda items.
Is there a second to that motion?
No, not unless there's a time limit.
I will make a alternate motion that we extend the meeting to 9:20, no later.
Thank you. Okay, we'll entertain the substitute motion first. Do we have a second to that motion?
I'll second. I'll
Second
second.
by Carl. Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye, nay, but I don't know, it's gonna go.
Nay.
That was
Okay,
a
so we
safe day. That was a safe one.
3 ayes.
Let's move it then.
Motion
I just-
passes. Please continue.
Okay, the purpose of this material is different than like what we're talking about, like at Provoking with the soil in the wall, where that is a retainage. We don't need a retainage with one with the rock there and two with the slopes that Will has put in there at our direction. The
Gotcha.
purpose of this material is to stop material, kind of protect it from raveling. Some of it's still gonna ravel with freeze thaw. If it does, anything sizable should fall to the bottom of the wall. Similar to like what we used to see up Fort Canyon Road that had been there for, I think, 19 years as far as what I saw. I don't anticipate a lot, but the other thing that this stuff will allow is for vegetation to grow through it, should it find purchase on that steep slope. Now, caveat is that it's hard to find purchase for vegetation on that steep slope in rock, but it seems to find a way.
So all in all, guys, I really honestly believe that what we've done is create a lot better situation than was originally approved and done clear back, because we found a different thing than we actually anticipated finding. We knew we'd find rock because we did the geo reports on it, but we had no idea we'd find the kind of rock and the solidness and the length and depth of those rocks. Because you see, we've changed in some areas almost 50 feet that has had to be moved down to do it. We didn't know that we'd hit rock at that point, so we have. So it's good and it will move, okay?
Thank you.
That's good. Thank you very much, Will. And again, would you just remind us what timeline we're on for that particular treatment?
Oh, it'll go in as soon as the curb is in. We plan to put it up as soon as the curb and gutter is in, so that we can we just need that to know exactly our lines to what we're tying back down to. So that's what
So
we want to have it done before fall. I gotta get out of that project.
All right.
Right here. Hey,
Thank
can
you
we
very
take my last item while I'm standing
Yes,
here?
the Lambert
Great
Park.
idea.
Yeah,
Yep.
I have Lambert Park trails.
Okay, so thanks, Davey. What I want to do is Crossfire, as we know, has been an emphasis. We've been meeting with the guy from Park City who does incredible work. His suggestion after all this thing, and so I need something to go forward to help him. I need to know if I can tell him he can move forward. Here's what his suggestion is. And did you put that up, Austin? I'm just going to quickly put up. You guys are all familiar with it, but we're going to we're talking the south side of the park, over there where we have Ziggy Zaggy. We've
That's the
got
north side.
black, brown dog, every kind of white dog, and a couple others, okay? Our goal over there is we want to get people to Crossfire. We've looked at multiple ways to do it. And every time I come up with another idea, he says it's not going to work because it's not going to create enough deal. It's too short of an area. You'll have 3 or 4 items on each side, and that won't draw people up there time and time again. Your best way to draw people, and you can check this out in your own city, is what trail gets the most use? Rodeo Down. And he says, so you've got to create better than Rodeo Down and both sides of this and a good one up. If you do, you'll have people going back and forth across Crossfire all the time, and they'll spend the time there, and it will force what you're trying to do. That said, when we did these trails, we didn't design them. We just built them. And those great people that did that were wonderful because they took it on their own, but they weren't trail builders. And, you know, for instance, Zag, he walked Zag with me, and he was blown away that anybody actually rides Zag because of what it does. You know?
But shout out to the Devi brothers for taking the time to do that.
Yeah, and that's what he says. He says, you don't get to, and you know what he predicted? He says, you watch, as time goes on, there'll be more and more shortcuts. And I hadn't paid attention until he brought that up to me. And I counted the other day, there are 6 shortcuts through Zag already. Because people are doing that now. We don't want to go clear over here to go clear back over there to go. Anyhow, so his plan is, and this is the end of my thing. I need to know if we can proceed with design with a flow trail down along Lambert Estates. So it would take Ziggy, and it would probably eat up a lot of that end of Zag.
and it's gonna go all the way down to the road. Okay, it'll go clear to the bottom. And where that intersection is where the bridge is. Then the other one would be over and it'd be right against our south part of the park. And we'd probably take up 2 or 3 trails there. They'd be gone. And then we'd create a new uphill. They'll be fun and great. And if you want to see the kind of uphill we're creating, we just finished up the uphill up in the new one, the new flows, which we're calling Last Chance and Easy Breezy. If you've gone up on those, that uphill is the kind of uphill that is worth riding. It's fun, and yet it's still exercise. You're still climbing, but people can ride it.
The switchbacks.
Yeah, the one thing that the guy I've been using is not as good at as I'd like, but this new guy definitely is 3 times as good, is at the actual corners. The corners on Three Falls were the best ones done. Up in the clear, if you go across the bridge, how they made them, how you made those turns, how they berm in, and you start low and come high. Anyhow, nobody else really does that as good, except this guy that we're working with. He actually even does it better. So these would be incredible. We're working to modify 2 on the uphill on Last Chance, and I've got 3 to modify now on the Easy Breezy, because they're just not quite there. They don't get it. They just don't.
So can I ask a question? I mean, obviously on the Crossfire, one reason why we put that in there is, to deter some shooting up in that area. Putting a trail right there that's used plays a part. We also bought obviously the pavilion to do that up there. Have you been able to put any thought into some type of a structure up in that area that could be used by the Crossfire?
Yeah,
route?
we would like to propose that you put your sign up there and you actually put a bike station with a regular bike station like they're doing across everywhere now, that has all the little things to fix the bike and stuff. And that's where they know. But the one thing that it will do is people will actually, so the structure will make, meet our, hopefully what we're trying to do. But the biggest thing is we'll drive them out of there.
Yeah.
Because there will be, that's where everybody will go. You get that? I mean, rodeo, we wear out of it, but, and it's not even done as good as it should be. I mean, rodeo could be amazing. I don't have the funds to do that right now, but I think that would be the biggest thing, Jason, is we get our sign structure, get it up there, get it done. And then down below, create a small pad around there and put a bike repair station and stuff right
So
there.
that sign structure and pad and bike, that will be at that place that the city is.
Right where
excavated
we've
there.
already cleared. Yeah, and so I'm gonna bring the uphill in to that area. That's where the uphill will come in and meet that trail. And then you can go that way to the one that goes down Ziggy, and right down, it will be real close to that, and you'll come down the other way.
Yeah, no, the trails are great, but it would be nice to see some real purpose-built trails that we're seeing all over the state. And and I think it'll be really great for the community.
Well, that's
Like
what
I
this
said, I
guy,
appreciate what people have done and I've enjoyed riding these trails, but I would love to see some purpose-built trails built.
well, and we'll like them better. They'll be done better, than we'll appreciate it.
Yeah, and if it means that people are gonna go up in that area, I think you're right. I think more, as you've got mountain bike teams riding in groups, moms, dads, families riding up there, wanting to go down these trails, that I don't think you're gonna have people shooting right there when you have families riding right next to
You
you.
won't. We had over
So-
250 bikers up Fort Canyon tonight. And I love it. I mean, personally, and they parked there in the bottom, they rode up and they were going, it was awesome. So anyhow,
you.
our goal here is to create that same kind of interest there. But what I need
We're giving
is,
you direction. Right, that's what you're asking for is direction.
I just need
Yes.
you guys to say it's all right to go ahead and spend the fund for design. And then when the design's done, I won't do anything until the design is approved by you.
So is the
Yeah.
design Crossfire Trail and the Ziggy Trail?
So Crossfire will be revamped. He's gonna fix it up. He wants it fixed. He's gonna do Ziggy and a new, we don't know the name of here, on the south side of Lambert.
So Will, one of the challenges is gonna be getting rid of the old Ziggy and doing it convincingly so people don't try to establish it. Do you have a plan for that?
Yeah, and he believes he can do that with the fact that the way he's berming this trail and the way this trail will be, that it won't be natural to go back to that. We're right, where we keep our trails pretty flat in this stuff, he doesn't do that.
Okay.
So it doesn't need a motion, but I guess if we're on the same page that we're gonna give the trail committee / Will Jones's group the ability to redo the Ziggy Crossfire Trail and the new trail that he's talked about. No motions required, right?
Yeah, we budgeted money for trails up here in this budget year. we can just get an estimate to say go.
Okay, I'll find out. I'll get you a contract for what the design is.
Are we looking to say go right now, though?
Just with the design.
Just the
design.
design, not construction. It would come
Yeah.
here.
We'll come back to us.
You get one, you do that? I just want to go.
Okay, well,
Yeah, I mean, I would love to.
Oh, keep going. Yeah, okay, I'm with you too. But I should have that back in a few weeks from what he told me. I think you do need a motion because it's, what I'm doing is changing things and I don't know. That's up to you guys. Do you need?
no,
It's just a plan.
yeah, right now it's just a change.
Oh, you need it when I come back.
Yes.
down.
Yes.
Okay, great. I just don't want to get going because I have a tendency to do that anyway. Thank you.
Thank you, Will.
I will talk to you tomorrow morning.
Okay, we have 8 minutes to wrap up our meeting. Did we table the parking lot? We did, right?
Yeah.
And fall burn permits is a pretty straightforward one.
Yeah, Mayor, I was on the news last night. They were saying it's still dry conditions or high fire risk this week. I don't know, but
My feeling is that that's true, Greg. And in addition to the fact that we've had horrible air quality all summer, I think putting more smoke into our air is counterintuitive. But I'm happy to hear arguments to the contrary. It just feels like we finally get a good day and now we're talking about burn permits.
Yeah, Mayor, the fire chief would like to say something on this, if that's okay.
Thank you.
The consensus out of county chief's meeting was that nobody is doing burn permits in this county.
Okay.
So,
How about recreational fires now?
so recreational fires have been lifted in the forest. I believe that
Mic
was
up.
September 1st. They still have to be in
A
a
ring.
fire pit, but I believe they lifted the ban. As far as like open burns in your city, I don't know when the burn restriction ends that was put in place with the firework restriction.
That was to be at year end, through the end of the year for the
People
fireworks.
have a fire in their backyard in their fire pit right now.
Yeah, we should be able to.
Well, that's what we,
I think
Yeah.
we did. I think it was part of it.
yep, it was part of it. And I've been asked questions from neighbors and
if you're cooking.
citizens if they could have a fire in their fire pit.
So the answer is, if you're cooking, you can, but if you're just doing it for fun, you can't. Okay.
I was gonna say, I'll just have a marshmallow stick and hold it
Yep.
until it catches on fire, then I have to flick it on.
Okay,
Think
so,
everybody's-
So you need to make a motion on that?
yeah, I'll make a motion that we maintain the recommendation of no burn permits issued through this year.
This calendar year.
So
This
the open burn
burn
is September 15th
season.
to the October 30th.
Okay.
Till October, through this burn permit season.
Okay, we have a motion by Lon. Do we have a second to the motion?
Second,
Was that Jessica?
yes.
Okay, we have a motion by Lon, seconded by Jessica. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? That motion passes unanimously. Okay, do we need to address the ARPA?
Yeah, just real quick. So the state of Utah, the legislature took part of the state funds and passed a bill. They took 50 million of their ARPA funds and set them aside for a grant program that cities and other entities could apply for. So it's a 50% match. What we're proposing to do is apply for a 50% match to build a new water tank that would be in place of the one by the Bowery. So the one by the Bowery would stay. It's a 500,000 gallon. We see a lot of big swings just with growth and just everything. We propose to replace that with a 1 million gallon tank, and it could roughly, if you know where the loop is just above the Bowery, it would roughly be in that area because elevation is key with that and the water system. And so I don't know what our chances of getting this are. I put some information on your desk. our kind of application that we put together and then a kind of a fact sheet or whatever from the state. Soon. So you only had like a month to apply for this because there's certain things dealing with the legislature and approvals. Those dates are listed on there. So we would hear, I think it's the end of the year, if I remember right.
If this gets approved and built, would it potentially, if there's annexation up above there, would it be this property or this water able to be used for this annexation?
It's all the same water. It's a matter of taking care of peaks. Right now, we see fluctuations of a full tank down to maybe a tank that's got 5 or 6 feet of water in it, and then it comes back up. And our concern is for future and growth and seeing bigger swings in that water.
This is all gray water?
This
No,
is
this is
culinary.
culinary
This is
water. It's
culinary.
culinary water.
So
this
we
one is
would
water.
take the old tank and convert it to pressure irrigation. Due to elevations, it wouldn't be a full tank, but we'd get some benefit from it. We just kind of repurpose it that way.
I apologize, don't want to take time, but annexation requests that are the people that live above that, would the water still flow uphill there, or does it have to be?
No, it would have to be pumped. So it's really even Box Elder. I mean, Box Elder, Willow Canyon, Three Falls, they pump water from that water that goes from that tank through the system up to that elevation, and then they push it up to smaller tanks up above. You know, the 500,000 gallon tank, up until about a month ago, maybe 3 weeks ago, when we started a well, 100% of the culinary water for the city was running through that tank.
Wow.
And it's one of our smaller tanks. And so we just thought it's maybe a good opportunity, at least try to get some help to build that. We'll be bringing a master plan update in the next probably month or 6 weeks. And one of the projects on there will be that project. So their applications are due tomorrow by 11:59 p.m.
Do we need a motion for this or?
I
need a motion
think it would be beneficial to have one, yes.
Okay, so can somebody make that motion, please?
I'll make a motion that we give staff direction to apply for this funding.
ARPA funds.
ARPA funds.
You have a second?
For the use of the water tank.
I'll
Do we have a
second.
second? Okay, motion by Lon, second by Carla. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, motion passes unanimously.
I just had a quick question. So if we're awarded, so do we have the other 50%? Where is that allocated
So,
from?
we told, the way we listed in the application is, and sorry you didn't have a chance to read.
We are at our time limit, you guys.
It would come through fund balance that we have. We have about 3 million in our water fund, and then impact fees where
Okay.
they're applicable.
Okay, unfortunately, we are out of time in our meeting to continue forward with staff reports. Shane, is there anything that has to be communicated to the council?
Troy, did we vote on that?
Yes,
Oh, okay.
it
Bonnie
was all in
asking.
favor.
Yeah, it was unanimous.
It's unanimous.
Yeah, just a couple real quick things. We're looking at a joint effort with Highland City through MAG and Bike Utah to do an active transportation plan. We were on a Zoom call with MAG and the Bike Utah people. They said they'd help prepare the grant. There'd be a 6.77% match. It seems like it made sense to tie our systems together, but what we discussed so that we don't get into politics of them wanting something, us wanting something different or whatever, that each city had their own chapter in the document, but that we try to work together. Like if it's not, then we could be asking you to vote on Highland's plan. And so we're trying to have that little bit of separation, but still work together. we thought you guys would be in favor of that. We discussed active transportation with a general plan discussion, but I wanted to, before we went to the effort, wanted to make sure we're okay to do that. Okay.
I'm good with that.
On September 28th, we want to have a field trip unless it doesn't work out and you're okay pushing this item off, but we want to have a field trip preferably at 5:30 to give us maybe a little like 5:30 to 6:45 to go out and look at grading and height on homes and kind of go out in the field, look at some different situations and discuss how different ways of measuring and grading issues would come into play with some kind of real life situations in the field. Would 5:30 work for everyone on that? Okay, we'll plan for that.
Shane, while you're looking, I just want to mention October 4th at 9 a.m. is the Blue Bison motion for summary judgment. We can get you the link if you want to participate by WebEx or whatever virtual means they're doing it, but it's October 4th at 9 a.m.
Yep. Okay, important one for the kiddos. Are we gonna have a trick or treat deal this year?
Yes.
Okay. That's all we needed there. I think that's all that has to be covered tonight.
Okay, I'll entertain a motion to adjourn.
I make a motion, we adjourn.
Second.
Jason Thielen, second.
Okay, thank you, Jason. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, motion passes unanimously. Thanks, everybody.
No, Jessica opposed.
All night.
Jessica's gonna stay here all night. She
Did
said.
Jessica, did she vote against that motion?
She did.
Yes.
Of course I did.
You gotta vote louder, Jessica.
There you go. Yep.
Sorry, it still passes.